other phone number to the 13-year-old grandson who's possibly with the daughter. Step out with this.
2412.
Veteran crisis hotline's calling in, so they have a female veteran's off her medication. She's at work to safe haven. Detective 12, we'll check that one out.
6 1 bullet, 2 1 started, you shot.
Officer still stands for time? No. Offender in custody? Thanks. Anyone else close, point to 0, let me know. First number. 10-4. 12, we'll check that one out.
6 1 bullet, 2 1 started, you shot.
Officer still stands for time? No. Offender in custody? Thanks. Anyone else close, point to 0, let me know. 10-5, I'll be back. 33.
Sweet. I'm going to supervisor know that I have a case.
1830.
Yeah, possible Sheridan and Wilson.
First number. 10-4. And where's the 47-4. Tolerance
Good morning. Thanks for hopping in. Hopefully, StreamYard is working okay. They've had some more updates, and it still looks a little buggy, but hopefully it's okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I don't know. They've been doing some updates. YouTube's going to have some updates now. They're going to be doing this new thing with commercials, which is cool. They're going to have a new feature coming out where the stream will still be up, but it's going to go to one side and then the commercial's going to pop up on the other. So it's going to be like a half and half kind of thing when it comes to commercials. So that'll be cool. What's up, Sarah? Thank you for all your doc drops as well. By the way, let me share Sarah's link out there because seriously, and make sure you hit the notification bell on her page. So with Twitter, go ahead and follow her on Twitter. There's her link. Go ahead and follow her on Twitter. And then there's that little bell. Make sure you got that little bell checked. And then that way, seriously, as soon as a document drops, Sarah has it posted. And then sometimes you know how it's been on that website where, like the documents will show up for one person, but not the other. Sarah always takes photos of them too. And so even if they might not show up, link-wise, because we know that happens, even though they might not show up, Sarah takes the pictures as well. So even if you can't get the link, the photos are there. It's awesome. She does an awesome job. And hopefully many more to come, for these doc drops, not just for Idaho 4, but for other cases too. Definitely go give her a follow. Speaking of, she had, there was a couple documents that dropped yesterday, and one of them, so it was kind of like a secret for a minute about who was trying to make sure the gag order stayed in place. And we didn't know at first, but now there's a document that came out where basically it's Bryan Kohberger that wants the gag order in effect until the sentencing. So that was kind of interesting, right? The prosecution, the defense was like, we don't see any problems. We don't see any problems. It makes me wonder, why does he want the gag order to remain in effect? I know it's based off of, he claims protection, but it's already going to come out already after the sentencing. So if are you worried about Ada County Jail? Is that because after sentencing, then he's there, then there's a process where they figure out where he's going, the date of transfer. It doesn't just boom, right? There's a process to it. And so it makes me wonder, is it Ada County that has this security threat? And then also, if you've noticed that, so the last court hearing, do you guys remember there was a lot of people, even the interviews of the people that were there for the court hearing, they were talking about how tight the security was. They were talking about how, like, the security was nuts there. So is there some kind of like low key security threat that is not out to the public? I don't know. It's just weird because, like, hey, I just admitted to commit the crime, right? Even the burglary. And Yoli, that was one of Yoli's questions this whole time, was how are they going to prove the burglary charge? They have to prove that there's a connection between him and 1122. And Bill Thompson said in the plea deal hearing that they didn't have a connection between BK and 1122, so they wouldn't have been able to prove the burglary charge. So when it comes to what the students or the surviving roommates were just, with their witness statements, and one of them made a statement, Dylan, about him carrying a container type, the burglary charge. What did he take? What did he take? Is that what he's trying to keep secret until he gets transferred out of Ada County? I mean, I don't know. There's something with Ada County. There's something. So I don't know. It's just really weird. The extra security. Pay attention to that in the court hearing, and then if there's any interviews with anybody that was there, I bet you they're going to talk about how the security was just overwhelming. I guarantee they're going to say that. So I'm wondering, what is the security threat? How do you go from presenting 4 alternate perpetrators if you're admitting to the crime, right? Just days before you're presenting an alt 4. So I don't know, I'm confused. You're willing to put 4 innocent people's names out there as people that committed the crime, and then days later, I don't know. It's just really freaking weird. It's just really freaking weird. So we'll show those documents. I haven't been around for a couple days. 2 reasons. Number 1, because I've been slammed in the background. And number 2, a few days ago, I got hit with a copyright strike from a local news station. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate the kind words. I got a copyright strike from a local news organization. So, as we do our shows, I don't really like to. There's a reason that we don't watch mainstream media very often. And it's because of the crazy, outlandish things that they say or that they bring up or that they discuss. We look at more of mainstream media as like comedy hour, right? We rely on local news stations to not only be the boots on the ground, but also, and we've made a lot of friendships with different news organizations out there as we've been out there boots on the ground. And we rely on the local news stations because they really bring the truth. You know what I'm saying? That's one of the reasons we always shout them out. That's one of the reasons why I always promote. It's because the local media is the backbone and the bloodline when it comes to all of these communities that get affected across this whole globe. And local media is always very important because, there's a free speech and a truth and justice element involved in the mainstream media. they have a lot of people up above them that you can't talk about this. We don't want you to talk about this. We want you to bring this up. Just even the stuff like the Elliot Rodgers stuff, like it's been pumped out and promoted. The Papa Roger, Bryan Kohberger connection been pumped out, promoted. It's all mainstream media. Hey, we need to get that 4% for this quarter. We need that extra 4%. So we need you to talk about this so it spikes ratings. Well, you don't. Obviously, you have that a little bit when it comes to local news, but honestly, not too much because these reporters are out there trying to get to the bottom of things, reporting with truth and justice in mind and in the background. So it was a little disappointing to be. It was my first copyright strike. Um, uh, and I was really shocked, honestly. It was one from the Idaho 4 case. They copyright struck me on a video from the middle of March. Uh, and I was just covering an interview from one of the victims' families at Idaho 4. So I reached out to them in email yesterday and I wrote them a letter. And, I apologized and I let them know, like, how important it is. And I let them know, like, look, if it was an issue where you wanted me to take something down, just please let me know. And it's not a problem. That's one of the things when it comes to my channel and any of this that I've over the last few years, when it comes to how I approach everything, I always highlight, promote, share links. I say more than anybody on this platform, and you can go to all of my shows and you can see throughout different forms, whether it's layovers or banners or whatever, or highlighted comments that I would do in the beginning. In whatever form, it was always about promoting and about the truth and justice and highlighting all the local news organizations and all the hard work that they do. So it was a little disappointing. You know what I'm saying? And really confusing too, because I don't know. I've heard of national, mainstream media doing it. I've heard it about high profile channels on YouTube doing it, but the last thing that I have ever heard is a local news organization issuing a copyright strike to a content creator just for covering an interview with one of the victims' families. And so, when it comes to the future of what we're going to be reporting, because if one local news organization is going to copyright strike a content creator, what other local news organization can do the same? And when it comes to the hard work, and when it comes to the message, and when it comes to what we're trying to do, basically, over here, there's a lot of there's a lot of other programs that do kind of go beyond the boundaries. You know what I'm saying? But over here, we've always been. I kind of look, I'm a reporter as well that is out on location. I'm a reporter. There's some reporters for local news organizations that go out there, boots on the ground, and do the work and stuff like what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And so they're almost like a big brother to me, with the way that I report and the way that I do things. And so, I don't know. It's a kind of a weird feeling. You know what I'm saying? And also confusion on, because think about it. How many of us do these shows and we rely on local news media for the truth, to spread for us to bring awareness and for us to spread the truth about situations that mainstream media can't do because they gotta a huge corporation boardroom above them telling them what they should talk about and not talk about. And so when it comes to moving forward, um, you know, what are you supposed to do? So it's been a little confusing. The last couple days I've just, been in thought a lot too and trying to understand, like, I don't like what, because the boots on the ground is one thing, but if I want to sit down and I want to discuss something with you about a case, um, and I want to rely on local news because we always do, mainstream media twist things. So, what are you supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? Um, Read a bunch of articles. I always found it more intimate and more of a personal connection when you can actually hear the reporters from the local news, when you can see the reporters from the local news, not just hear their voices, but see the reactions on their faces, see the videos of what they're describing. It's about information, it's about awareness. And so what do you do at that point? And so it's just been a lot of thought process and really like trying to figure out like what, I mean, what do they want us, is it a thing where it's like, okay, well then how about I just quit the live streams and watch those local news clips, and then I'll just make a 10-15 minute video edit for upload and talk about it then. Part of the reason for local news is being able to dig through and explore too. Hey guys, look at this in the background. Just think, when it comes to like the amount of effort that some of us, I'm not going to say all of us, do on this platform, because there's 3/4 of it is just a bunch of bait and switch and drama and all that other stuff. But for the people that are really trying to like cover the cases, bring information, discuss truth, and seek justice just like everybody else. Imagine if there wasn't local news. How many, think about like Gabby Petito, right? If there wasn't local news being, because look, local news can only go so far. But when it gets to this platform and the amount of tension that we can raise, that reaches all over. A lot of these local news platforms are known because of us YouTube content creators. And so just think about Gabby Petito's case. Local news wouldn't have been shared on the true crime channels. Red, White, and Bethune wouldn't have came across the local news channels, and then the other channels discussing it, and then next thing you know, they're reaching out to those true crime talk shows right at the same time as they were sending over their videos. And next thing you know, like so again, there's really a lot of confusion on my side when it comes to this. Like I would expect like some huge content creator, whatever, or some like, you know what I'm saying, like Prime Video or something like that. But when it comes to like a local news station for the Idaho 4 case, when I was just covering an interview of one of the victims' families, what are you supposed to do at that point? You know what I'm saying? Like what can you do? And so this is here. I'll share this with you guys real quick. I'm not gonna share the whole thing, but this was from a couple days ago. So it says right there. Now I'm not going to show the rest, obviously, because then I could get in more trouble. I'm not trying to get in more trouble, but that's the email that came through a couple days ago, July 14th, 4:35 p.m. And that right there. So, no BS. No BS. So yeah, when it comes to local and what are you supposed to do now? You know what I'm saying? Because and I don't know. I don't get it. Local, that's where the truth comes from. You know what I'm saying? Like when we were watching when Idaho 4 first happened. When Idaho 4 first happened and and the local news channels were the ones that were expressing the truth too. You know what I'm saying? Like, why haven't we heard? You saw the local news getting upset too. The anchors, the people out on the. There's been crimes that have happened. There's never been this much secrecy. They were crying out. The questions from the local news anchors. I mean, you can go back to the very beginning of our coverage. Our show, again, started a few days before the crime took place. We've been covering everything from the beginning. And you can hear us shout out the local news constantly because they bring the truth and because they're really seeking the justice. How many of these local news stations and reporters break information? Like, so I don't know. I'm just trying to be a friend. I don't know why I'm considered an enemy. I'm just trying to be a friend. I'm just trying to do the same thing that they're trying to do. The same goal, the same energy, the same effort. There's not enough people given that same kind of effort. How many people are out there going boots on the ground? Most of them are just chilling behind a desk. You know what I'm saying? Not very many. So when you have somebody that's out there in the same elements, understands, because I understand. I'm in the same elements as those reporters are, in fact, deeper. So I understand the kind of effort and the kind of determination and the kind of awareness that you have to have and the kind of grit and the kind of strength and the kind of the push. I understand all that stuff, just to get truth and justice for most of the time people you don't even know. You're doing this for people that you've never met, you don't even know, you never even, like probably would have never known their name. And you're doing all of that. So I don't know. Like I was like, well, maybe I'll just have live call-ins. Maybe I'll just have live panel shows and we'll just discuss it. I don't know. Because again, I would hate to be bringing awareness to a case from some crime that happened in Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? Something happens in Mississippi. We want to bring awareness to it. We want to find truth and justice. We want to help. We discuss it. We show something from a local news station. And next thing you know, bam! All of a sudden, EvilleCJ don't exist on YouTube and never can anymore. Because once you get 3 of them, you're banned. you're gone. Like you could never, yeah, you can make another channel, but everything is gone. All of the boots on the ground work that I never even got to have saved to my video collection from the very beginning, you know, uh, the first year, year and a half, I wasn't able to save any of that footage because I didn't have the equipment back then. And so there's a lot of stuff on YouTube of boots on the ground stuff that I don't have copies of. And that's why it's there on YouTube. I don't know, it's just crazy. It's like when it comes to local news, like I hold them at such a high, a high level. I look up to them. Um, I try to do my reporting as such. And so um, when that happens from somewhere you just never even thought or heard or expected, and when you're about the same thing, it's just a really weird situation. And so it's like what do you what do you what are you supposed to do? And I appreciate you guys following me on those other platforms. By the way, because I've been slammed in the background the last few days, I haven't been able to do shows. This right here, why won't my taskbar go away? It's supposed to. Oh, my lord. Hold on one second. Okay, that's not. It's like covering up my StreamYard stuff now. Come on, man. Why won't it go away? I apologize. So, StreamYard, dude. This is. It's so distracting. You're trying to run a fucking program, and this shit just constantly happens. Where's the damn menu? Like, I have the menu up, but it's not showing me the option to. Okay, there we go. Whoa. There we go. Now it's switched. Whatever. Automatically hide it. I don't know. I unselected it and it works now. Okay. Because we've been gone, I've been busy in the background, slammed actually the last few days. I wasn't able to do the other parts of the watch parties yet, and a couple days ago, I went ahead and opened up the full thing until we're able to finish the other episodes. That way, nobody on Twitch has to wait. So a couple days ago, I opened that up for all the Twitch followers. So if you are on Twitch, or if you're not on Twitch, you want to check out the doc, you can check out the doc. we did a couple watch parties already, but I didn't anticipate getting this busy the last couple days, and so I have not been able uh, to do those at night. Thank you so much, Kid Kitty, for the gifted membership. Appreciate that very much. Let me throw this up there. All right, so let me see. We're going to go ahead. I'm going to pull this up. In the meantime, we got the live stream up for the court hearing. So whenever that does happen, we'll go ahead and switch it over, and we'll get right into it. But in the meantime, we're going to hang out and just chit chat a little more. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it very much. And I know that we're taking some hits. We already got a hit from being on the algorithm a few weeks ago when the channel got shut down for a few days. After that, a lot of people were not getting their notifications anymore. And I've been getting a lot of messages from people in the background about it. I apologize. I don't know what to tell you. And then also with this crap that just happened, we've been taking some huge hits on the algorithm. So I appreciate you guys for being in here. And also, it would really help to like and share it out as well, just to get us back in the algorithm, because after we got shut down about a month ago or so, that really knocked us out of the algorithm pretty bad. So, but yeah, that's the story of, the last couple days, basically being slammed in the background, trying to understand, kind of in a way where, like, what path to walk down, I guess. Just because it's just really confusing when what do you, I'm sorry, I don't want to present mainstream media as factual, because it's not factual. And when you can't present media that's factual, I don't know what you're supposed to do. So be careful. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was a mistake. I don't know, but it's still there. And I don't know. You get two more and you're gone for good. So, all right, it should be starting here in a couple minutes. Now, I want to share. I want to go to these documents real quick. So let's go to that. Let's switch it up. Let's go to these documents real quick. Now, this was the redacted opposition to motion to vacate non-dissemination order. That's the order. And this is what's crazy, too. There's still requests for discovery taking place. Look at that. July 9th, state's response to request discovery. Like, that was after July 9th, state's response to defendant's 24th supplemental request. This stuff was going on after, like, wait a minute, what? And then the alternate perp theories right before, 4 people. I don't know. It's just odd. Then you got the redacted opposition. This is BK basically asking that it still remain in place. So it says right here, Mr. Kohberger's request regarding the order is based on the one language of the order that had not previously been challenged by the media. Okay, interesting. Number 2, the ongoing publicity regarding the case and threats to Mr. Kohberger's safety. Again, think about all of the security in the courtrooms. You're going to see it today. You're going to hear people discuss it. Number 3, redacted and the hold order for all witnesses issued by the court. So that is what the request is for today. I mean, well, that's why we're on Kick, we're on Rumble, we're on Twitch, we're on different platforms. Twitch has been amazing, you guys. Again, if you're just showing up, this is available to all followers on Twitch now. And we get to do special. So trust me, there's some other stuff that I'm going to be doing on Twitch. I'm going to be doing some stuff for some other cases, some watch parties and stuff like that for some other cases. And also, when it comes to some of these other docs that aren't on apps or anything, that are on mainstream media, that will get us in trouble over here, we can actually do those over on Twitch too. So for all followers, you can have the sneak peek over there. All right, let me switch back to this. We'll have this up here in the meantime. And so we're going to be discussing, Dr. Gary B. was on Court TV yesterday. We're going to be doing that in another show coming up, Inside the Mind of a Killer. The body language, the sick teenage crimes that they're calling them. We're going to be discussing all of that stuff. Yeah, anywhere that you go, this is my handle, no matter what. EvilleCJ, even on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, all that's, whatever it is, it's all at EvilleCJ. So you can just look up EvilleCJ on any of those, and you'll be able to find me. Kind of like YouTube. Like the channel is EvilleCJ Media and Investigations, but it's at EvilleCJ. It'll all be at EvilleCJ, no matter where. We're going to be going through that stuff. We're going to be doing shows on Bloom. We're going to be doing shows on Ward and Patterson, all the different interviews and stuff. But again, I kind of have to retool how I'm going to be doing the show from this point forward, just based off of, unless they retract the strike. Unless they retract it, then, I understand it was a mistake. But at this moment in time, if local news is going to start copyright striking content creators for, I don't know, what are you supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? Just think, how many of us content creators use local media to spread the truth and awareness? I mean, I don't know. And if they haven't been, they will soon, trust me. I want to do a couple polls too, so I'm going to do some polls while we have this court hearing going on. The first poll I'm going to do is, will BK reveal his motives? That'll be poll number 1 coming up here when the court hearing starts. And then poll number 2 will be, do you think BK is the real killer? I would like to see what the polls are also on the replay if you're watching it. Leave a comment in the comment section, and who knows, maybe we'll start doing comment shows too, because you can't get a copyright strike for covering your own comments. I had a whole bunch of family interviews set up for this, but we're not going to be able to check them out because I just don't want to take that chance. Let me see, what else did I want to cover? Yeah, there's a very good interview with Xana's mom too. Very good interview with her. Very lengthy one too. It was almost a half an hour. Almost a half an hour. All right. I think I pretty much got everything. So I want to share this video from Bryan Enton real quick before we get into it. He kind of made a comment. I don't know if it was on this video that we're going to see real quick, but he did make a comment about how the victim. So when the families are supposed to write their victim impact statements, he made a very good comment, and he was discussing it, and he said that, oh, StreamYard's bugging out. Oh my gosh. It went black screen. Come on. My screen is gone. It went. What am I supposed to do? Do I have to restart my browser? What the heck, man? I'm gonna have to restart. I'll be right back. This is so annoying. All right. Dude, it just did it again. It went all. It, how, dude, how am I even supposed to do my damn show? There's no damn. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot what I was even talking about. Okay, is it gonna mess up? It did it again. Why is it going to a black screen? I don't. Whenever I'm trying to screen share here. Okay, maybe if I don't share my camera. I don't know. Alright, let's try this because I gotta be able to at least screen share the freaking courtroom. Is it seriously the camera? So I can't have my damn camera on. So me not. Alright, hold on. Oops. I had so many things I wanted to talk about. I'm afraid to even open anything else up. Let me try Twitter. Maybe it's gotta be. All right, hold on. The defense. Ann Taylor's got a new article out. Interesting. We'll go into that in a minute. Let's see. Probably after the show if it'll let me. Okay. Let me see if I can go to this grant. Oh, did it again. No, it didn't. All right, here we go. This is a quick video from Bryan from earlier.
Hey guys, just before I go to bed, there's something I was thinking about with the Bryan Kohberger gag order that I haven't really talked about, and I should have talked about it. And something reminded me of it tonight, which I'll tell you guys about later. But, you know, the gag order has also applied to the victims' families in the sense that they've been able to speak, but the same information that the public hasn't been able to get, the victims' families haven't been able to get. So there's a lot that they don't know. They haven't been able to see the redacted document.
Kohberger CR 0124 31665. Present today by video is the defendant in custody with counsel, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Barlow, and Ms. Massoth. State is represented by Mr. Thompson, Mr. Hurwitz, and Ms. Jennings. On behalf of the media petitioners, we have Ms. Olson and Mr. Pedersen. Today's hearing is to discuss the media's request to terminate the non-dissemination order. The state filed a response indicating it was no longer objecting to that, and the defense did file an objection indicating that they do have a continued objection to lifting the non-dissemination order. I've read the briefs that have been provided by the parties, and I'm going to attempt to shortcut things here a little bit by asking whether the defense, who is the objecting party, has anything additional to add beyond what it had in its briefing before. I don't know that I need to hear from, frankly, the petitioner. I think the briefing was adequate, so let me just start with Ms. Taylor to see if there's anything else she wants to add.
Your Honor, there is not, but if there's further argument, Ms. Barlow will be making that argument on behalf of the defense.
All right. And to be fair, Ms. Olson, was there anything you felt was important to add that was not contained within your briefing?
Your Honor, we would just briefly say in response to the defendant's brief, we certainly understand the expressed concern about the media coverage of their client. We don't think continuing the non-dissemination order helps that at all. It simply continues to limit the ability of the members of the press to reach out to the people who know the most about the case. It doesn't obligate them to say anything. We also understand that they expressed that there was a due process right related to the sentencing. I read the case that they submitted. I think that there is obviously a due process right at sentencing, but I don't think that case is really it doesn't provide any guidance to the court here, because that was about information provided to the court. And given the very limited scope, and we understand it's very important, but given the very limited scope of what's to be decided at the sentencing, we don't think the arguments that Mr. Kohberger made should outweigh at this stage the First Amendment rights of our clients. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, in light of that response by the media outlets or interested outlets, Ms. Barlow, do you want to add anything?
I would only say, Your Honor, as this court is well aware, the publicity in this case is so extensive and emotions are already so high that adding fuel to the fire of media interviews or a rush to interview people as they leave the courthouse or enter the courthouse would only increase the concerns that the defense has. And even though the plea has a specific sentence attached to it, as this court is well aware, things happen in plea hearings and, sentencing hearings. And to minimize the possibility of that, we request that this order stay in place.
All right, thank you. All right, as the court has considered the petition, frankly, the court was prepared at the time the plea was entered to lift the non-dissemination order in order to give the parties time to evaluate that and to ensure I wasn't missing anything. When both sides objected, I agreed to continue the non-dissemination order. I also indicated that I would have the potential to look at that again before sentencing, because frankly, I anticipated the motion from somebody, in this case, the Ms. Olson and her clients, was likely to be coming. At this point, I do not believe the purpose of the non-dissemination order, the primary purpose, which is to ensure that we can seat a impartial jury, is any longer at play. The concerns identified by the defendant, while certainly not to minimize those, they are concerns and they are significant concerns. I do not think, however, the non-dissemination order and the right of the public to information is outweighed or outweighs those rights, I should say. And frankly, I don't think that lifting the non-dissemination order will meaningfully impact those concerns. I mean, the media frenzy, as it has been described, will continue regardless. It is a little bit like a, water will find low ground. In this case, the media is going to write about something regardless about this case. The lifting the non-dissemination order does not require the counsel or others who were previously bound by it to speak. And the state has indicated they don't intend to until after the sentencing. And certainly I would hope that the media interests would respect those positions and give people the space that they need who were previously bound by it to speak. And the state has indicated they intend to until after the sentencing. And certainly I would hope that the media interests would respect those positions and give people the space that they need and request. In terms of, for example, the defendant's family and others going at the sentencing, we intend to have, as we did before, appropriate security measures in place to ensure that they, as well as the victims, are allowed to get in and out unscathed by the media, if that's what they wish to do, or if they wish to speak to the media, they can do that as well. At this point, I just don't think that I can justify the continuation of the non-dissemination order. I think the rights of the public to information in this case is paramount, given the fact that a plea has been entered in this case. And so I'm going to lift the non-dissemination order. But I want to point out what that means and what it doesn't mean. Obviously, nobody's required to speak to the media, first of all. Second of all, I want to be clear that the court's prior preservation order to the parties is not lifted and continues to stay in place. And so it's important to understand that the obligation still exists. And then the other thing I want to point out is that by lifting the non-dissemination order, that does not convert sealed documents to unsealed documents. Documents previously sealed by the court are still sealed. Now, I see the media also filed a petition to be heard to unseal everything. I'm denying that outright, the request to intervene, because I think it's premature at this point. So the court will its intent is to, after sentencing, begin the process of reviewing all the sealed material in this case to determine what should be unsealed and what should not be unsealed. That process will include an opportunity for counsel to register any objections to unsealing documents, specific documents, and request to redact certain sealed documents before they are unsealed, or unseal them in a redacted form. I intend to do that in groupings of documents at a time. As I sit here now, my thought is I'm going to start from newest to oldest, because those are the ones that I have the most working knowledge of as to the reason for the sealing of the documents, as well as the content of those documents. And so I think I can get through those more quickly. As we move backward in time, it's going to take further, more extensive review by the court to figure out, to obviously review the content of those documents, listen to the hearings, et cetera, and determine why they were sealed and whether that rationale still is necessary, or that rationale still requires the documents to maintain that sealed status. And so before everybody gets out their pen and paper and sends in public records requests, understand those will be denied for sealed records until they are unsealed. And that process is going to take time. And I'm not talking days, I'm probably not talking weeks for that to be accomplished. So I hope people understand patience will be required to get through that, as I'm going to have to review those myself to make those decisions. Now, we may be able to speed things up if neither party objects to groupings of documents or specific documents being unsealed. But it's important to review those, because those documents may include information that, pursuant to Rule 32, are not to be made public, including birth dates, social securities, information about minors and victims, and information that would be essentially inappropriate to unseal, including protection of individuals from undue harassment, et cetera. And so that's just going to take time. In addition, I'm unlikely to unseal much until after sentencing and after the appeals period has run. Now, I recognize the plea agreement includes a waiver of the right to appeal, but as the parties probably know, the U.S. Supreme Court in Garza, Idaho, has indicated the fact that a defendant waives the right to appeal doesn't mean they don't have the right to appeal. And so it may affect the outcome of that appeal, and it may affect the underlying case and the plea agreement. But nonetheless, the right to appeal does not go away because of the waiver. And so I think it's important for that time period to also play it out to see that it goes the way that I think people intend and expect it to. And so I will be entering an order in the next week or so outlining the process for the review of the sealed records. And counsel will need to maintain a presence in the case in order to review those materials as they are proposed to be unsealed by the court. Because the timeline that I will likely give you will not be, I suspect, extensive as for each group of records. So I might give you 14 days, for example, to provide a response as to a group of, a dozen or a couple dozen records at a time. So just sort of heads up and fair play with respect to that. Any questions by the parties about the ruling today?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No questions from the defense. Thank you.
So Olson, do you have any questions?
And I don't, Your Honor. I wasn't certain if I was included within the parties. I would just say I think that the court's proposed manner of moving forward on the sealed records will likely largely address our interests, and we appreciate the court setting that out in this hearing today.
Yeah. If certain records after review maintain their sealed status, it would be at that point that I would entertain requests for me to consider that more formally and to have a voice in that. But I think until I've gone through that process, it's premature, which is why I don't intend to take up your motion, your more recent filed motion at this time. So,
thank you, Your Honor. We appreciate that.
All right. And with that, then we are adjourned. Thank you. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Wow. Holy crap. Okay, am I not showing on my camera anymore? Hold on. Oh, StreamYard. I'm not showing on my camera anymore. Okay. Yikes. Give me 1 second here. I'll be right back. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay. Let's go back to... All right, there we go. That was crazy. So the gag order that got denied, the motion got denied, the gag order is going to be lifted. But there's a couple things that stuck out to me. Number one, he said it's not even going to be weeks, it's going to be months before some of this stuff even gets unsealed. And also, when it comes to the surviving roommate, I bet you their phone records and everything that has to do with the surviving roommates, it's going to be sealed. You ain't going to be able to see nothing. I don't know. When he made that statement, it sounds to me like anything that involves Dylan or Bethany, it's going to be sealed. That involves their phone records, the timelines, all of that stuff. Guarantee it. That's crazy. I kind of want to watch that again. That was so quick, and I want to say thank you to Crim too for, hopefully I don't get in trouble for that. I want to say thank you to Crim too for doing that flip back and forth. Let me go back to that. Let's rewatch that again. Let's see. Let's rewatch. Oh, that was what? Okay, hold on. So, here, let me pause this. Hopefully it'll let me share it. Yeah, it's like I said. It's like I said before. There's not going to be any document drop. I mean, there's going to be documents, but it's going to be like little bits and pieces. It ain't going to be nothing huge. So for people that are expecting that all of this information is going to be dropped and it's going to answer all these questions, it's not. I said it from the beginning that they're not. There's a reason why we've questioned everything from the beginning, because it's all been minimal and circumstantial. And when it comes to whatever else, I mean, you heard the judge say it himself. He's not worried about Kohberger. He's worried about the surviving roommates. He didn't specifically say them, but you can hear what he says. You can hear it's about the surviving roommates. So it's going to be sealed. So we're going to go back. We're going to watch this again real quick. It's just like 15 minutes. This is them flipping back and forth. Now, this is what was crazy is that Kohberger, the whole maroon sweater, that's weird to me. See,
Taylor, Miss Barlow, and Miss Massoth.
So there's a zoom in on Kohberger right there. Here, let me flip to this screen so you can see it full screen. There's a zoom in on Kohberger, right? What is up with the maroon sweater? Where's the orange? Is that... Thanks, Kib, for hanging out. Appreciate it. The sweater is maroon. That's really weird. Where's the orange? And it's a sweater. I don't know. It's weird, though. But here, we'll play this full screen until it goes back to the other way. Then we'll switch it back.
State is represented by Mr. Thompson, Mr. Hurwitz, and Ms. Jennings. On behalf of the media petitioners, we have Ms. Olson and Mr. Pedersen. Today's hearing is to discuss the media's request to terminate the non-dissemination order. The state filed a response indicating it was no longer objecting to that, and the defense did.
If you want to hop up, Andrew, send me an email. I'm kind of, I don't know, this is some crazy stuff.
File an objection indicating that they do have a continued objection to lifting the non-dissemination order. I've read the briefs that have been provided by the parties, and I'm going to attempt to shortcut things here a little bit by asking whether the defense, who is the objecting party, has anything additional to add beyond what it had in its briefing before. I don't know that I need to hear from, frankly, the petitioner. I think the briefing was adequate. So let me just start with Ms. Taylor to see if there's anything else she wants to add.
Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to pause it. Oh, it went. What is going on? What is going on? There's some issues.
With counsel.
Okay, it started over. Hold on. We'll play this again.
So, Ms. Taylor, Ms. Barlow, and Ms. Massoth. State is represented by Mr. Thompson.
All right. I don't know. It's so distracting, man. Cuz so much is like instant reaction for me. And so when there's these issues, like the notes I have are just key points. And there's like so many key points to go through. The rest of it is just in my head in the moment. And so when we're doing this and then these issues come up, I totally lose train of thought. Half the time I don't even remember what I was exactly trying to bring up or discuss or make a point of. It already happened earlier. But yeah, that's my first question. The whole maroon sweater. Here, hold on one second. Let's see here. All right. It is very distracting. Restream, I've checked out Restream. It just, I don't know. Like there's other programs that I use, but they don't offer the panel feature, and that's where because there's other programs that literally it's my camera is high def. I don't know why I have high def for StreamYard, but some reason it's grainy as hell. But these other programs are really good. It's just there's no panel feature, and so that's why I continue to use this. But I don't know. If it wasn't for, I like having panels. I like having guests on. And so that's one of the main reasons. I checked out those other ones. I've checked out EVMUX. I've checked out Restream. It's just EVMUX is probably the one that I would go with out of any of the others, just because of the options and what you can do. But and I mean, StreamYard, they're coming out with a lot of great stuff, and updates and cool features and things like that. It's just there's a lot of bugs with it, and unfortunately, they're not fixing their bugs. There's been like 4 different new feature updates in the last month, and they're not fixing the bugs that are coming with these new features, and they're just throwing new features on top of new features and not fixing the other stuff. And so it's just become this this huge mess. So I apologize. All right, but yes, the maroon sweater.
Mr. Hurwitz and Ms. Jennings, on behalf of the media petitioners, we have Ms. Olson and Mr. Pedersen. Today's hearing is to discuss the media's request to terminate the non-dissemination order. The state filed a response indicating it was no longer objecting to that, and the defense did file an objection indicating that they do have a continued objection to lifting the non-dissemination order. I've read the briefs that have been provided by the parties, and I'm going to attempt to shortcut things here a little bit by asking whether the defense, who is the objecting party, has anything additional to add beyond what it had in its briefing before. I don't know that I need to hear from, frankly, the petitioner. I think the briefing was adequate. So let me just start with Ms. Taylor to see if there's anything else she wants to add.
Your Honor, there is not, but if there's further argument, Ms. Barlow will be making that argument on behalf of the defense.
All right. And to be fair, Ms. Wilson, was there anything you felt was important to add that was not contained within your briefing?
Your Honor, we would just briefly say in response to the defendant's brief, we certainly understand the expressed concern about the media coverage of their client. We don't think continuing the non-dissemination order helps that at all. It simply continues to limit the ability of the members of the press to reach out to the people who know the most about the case. It doesn't obligate them to say anything. We also understand that they expressed that there was a due process right related to the sentencing. I read the case that they submitted. I think that there is obviously a due process right at sentencing, but I don't think that case is really it doesn't provide any guidance to the court here, because that was about information provided to the court. And given the very limited scope, and we understand it's very important, but given the very limited scope of what's to be decided at the sentencing, we don't think the arguments that Mr. Kohberger made should outweigh at this stage the First Amendment rights of our clients. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, in light of that response by the media outlets or interested outlets, Ms. Barlow, do you want to add anything?
I would only say, Your Honor, as this court is well aware, the publicity in this case is so extensive and emotions are already so high that adding fuel to the fire of media interviews or a rush to interview people as they leave the courthouse or enter the courthouse would only increase the concerns that the defense has. And even though the plea has a specific sentence attached to it, as this court is well aware, things happen in plea hearings and, sentencing hearings. And to minimize the possibility of that, we request that this order stay in place.
All right, thank you. All right, as the court has considered the petition, frankly, the court was prepared at the time.
So basically, they were saying, look, we don't want Kohberger's request to outweigh the victim's family's request. And so what I'm wondering, and I don't see this happening, but it makes me wonder, are Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings going to sit down with these families and give them the answers that they're seeking, or are they going to make them wait like the rest of the general public to find out? I don't think the prosecution is going to sit down with the families and explain everything. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it's going to happen. And so, this is what the gag order's lifted. So does that mean that there's going to be a whole bunch of interviews coming out with Steve and others discussing stuff that hasn't been out yet? Is he even going to be able to have access to that information and tell everybody else? I don't know. He said he's not even going to be considering it for a week. Well, in 6 days, there's the sentencing hearing. So this was all about being redacted and sealed until then. I don't know. I'm confused. What's up? How you doing, Andrew? Hold on. Let me switch this around here real quick. There we go.
Oh, hi. How
How
are you?
you?
I didn't know I was on. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
I'm a little confused uh, when it comes to this. So we were kind of getting into the first part, and they made the arguments. The prosecution made the arguments that they don't think that Kohberger's request should outweigh the victim's family's need for the answers for the crimes and what they've been seeking. And so to me, the way that I took it is that's why he made the ruling that he did to lift the gag order. But wasn't this a discussion just about it being in effect until the sentencing, which is in 6 days?
Yeah, that's what he had said.
Okay.
At the previous hearing, the change of plea hearing back on July 2nd. Yeah, remember the Judge Hippler said, now let's reconsider the non-dissemination order. And it was actually Bill Thompson at that time that said, no, we want to keep it on at least, until the sentencing. And Ann Taylor said she didn't have a problem with that. So, yeah, this is a little bit of a reversal.
Because he said it's going to take him at least a week to even start the process. Well, you're already a day after the sentencing hearing, so I'm kind of confused as to what. I mean, it's nice that you said it's lifted, but you're not even going to be going through anything until after the sentencing anyway. So what is the point of it being lifted? Does that mean that the families can come out and say stuff that they haven't been able to say before? But
well, yeah, that's my I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump on top of you there. My interpretation of it is, the documents, it's pretty much going to be on a case by case basis. He said, what's sealed is going to remain sealed until we have a chance to go through it all. And he's not even going to start that until the appeal period goes by. And he cited that case from the United States Supreme Court that said that even though Mr. Kohberger has waived all right to appeal, that doesn't mean that he waived all right to appeal. So
I didn't understand that either.
The case of Garza versus Idaho, which I promise you I will read before tomorrow. We record our episodes. We don't have the media savvy that you have to do these things live. We record them on Fridays. So I promise you that before we record our episodes tomorrow on Friday, I will read Garza versus Idaho, a United States Supreme Court case in which the court says that the right to appeal does not mean the right to appeal goes away. Waiving the right to appeal does not mean the right to appeal goes away. So I'm sure there are other scholars that know that case inside out. I'm not one of them. That's news to me. But so he'll wait to even look at the documents until that appeal period goes away, which in most states is 30 days. I don't know if that's true in Idaho. I assume so. So he won't even look at the documents. But yeah, the non-dissemination order, I was quite surprised. I'll admit, I was quite surprised that goes away now. So I would believe that the attorneys and the families and the experts, the Cyrays of the world and, all the others, the DNA experts, they're now free. We might see them on the evening news tonight at 6.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. I was just, when it comes to the family, because that was the argument that they made. When it comes to the families, they all talk about how they don't know any information. And that's one of the reasons why they're so upset, is because of the gag order, and the plea agreement. The details won't be put out there for them to really truly know what happened to their loved ones. And so when it comes to that, it's like, well, I honestly don't see. Because if the families already don't know much, I don't see the prosecution sitting down, especially with the Gonzalez family, sitting down saying, okay, this is, these are the answers that you're asking. And if there's any other questions, we can answer it. I don't see them doing that. I don't see them sitting down with the families, going through and telling them exactly the details and stuff.
I don't know. I can only speculate because I'm on the outside. I'm up here in New England. I have no idea what's going on inside. I always got the sense that, and I might be wrong, but I always got the sense that prosecution has in fact talked to the families. And when one family that'll remain unnamed here started going to the press and being on Good Morning America, et cetera, that conduit shut off to that family. But just from reading between the lines in interviews that I have seen, for example, with Ethan's parents, who have kept a pretty low profile, except for one interview that they did do at some point last year, I got the impression, it wasn't stated overtly, I got the impression that the prosecutors and the victims' witness people were in fact talking to them and were giving them, not down to the nitty gritty, there were 58 stab wounds and blah, 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 but giving them some sense of what was really going on. I got that idea. I don't know.
Well, this is the way I kind of look at it. Like the G family has always been the one that's gotten information first and also promoted it. And so when I look at the G family saying, look, we don't, you saw how vocal they were about not getting the answers and not knowing, and the plea deal was ruined, ruined it for them because they wanted to know the answers. I honestly feel that if they did say anything to the families, they would have been telling the G family first, because I can imagine the pressure that they were putting on to get answers in the first place. I kind of see the Chapin family as just roll with it, with whatever, and they're good with no matter. They haven't really been wanted to be involved this whole time with anything. They just wanted to be done with it. They weren't even going to go to any of these court hearings, right. But they did go to one. But when it comes to the reason I say that is because, like, when you see how the G family came out and expressed not having answers, wanting answers, very upset that they weren't going to get answers, the last thing that I see the prosecution is sitting down and having an opportunity for them to rebuttal and come out with. You see how angry they were already. I kind of like, I don't know. I really feel like the prosecution wanted the plea deal as bad as they did because they didn't want to show people that they self-admittingly said that they didn't have a direct link between BK and 1122. And I don't think they wanted people to see that. And
well, he said two different things kind of contradictory during that July 2nd hearing. He did say what you just said, but that was in the context of those drive-arounds, allegedly, purportedly, that pinged the towers between, July 7th and November 2nd, something like that. And he just said that they pinged the towers, and we didn't have any direct evidence of him, associated with the presence. But then later, a little bit later, and
with the burglary charge too.
Yeah, but then later in that same recitation by Bill Thompson that day, he said, we believe the evidence will show that the defendant parked behind the property and then entered through the sliding glass doors on the second floor. So those are two different time periods, two different statements. But the actual evidence of that, as my viewers are wont to point out to me, is we've never seen that evidence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because the cast, when I watched that hearing, I took away from it that when it comes to him parking in the back, they were just going to use the video footage to explain that theory, and also to explain the theory of maybe the DoorDash driver. But I really don't see the DoorDash driver parking anywhere else but the driveway itself. But when it, like with the cast data, I've heard so many defense attorneys discuss about cast data and how it is not a pinpoint. They've gotten their clients off of cases because they couldn't prove that they were in that 30 block radius that is supposed to be shown as the evidence when it comes to cast data and people's locations of when crimes took place. And And 30 blocks is a huge difference in Moscow, especially. 30 blocks can be the Walmart in Moscow compared to the 1122 property. So, the CAS data, that's why I always, they've always said from the beginning, we don't want to use the sheath. We just want to use the tip. And that's what it's always been about, was the tip. They didn't need anything else beyond the tip, because the tip was the DNA transfer touch data. What else do you need more than DNA? And when it comes to the rest of this, why wouldn't they try and, why would they want this plea deal so bad? Because to me, it says that they didn't want to show people they didn't have, that they knew the chance that BK had of convincing one jury member to vote not guilty because of all the circumstantial evidence that was going to be presented. But I don't understand why a prosecution, when you've said this whole time you got all of this evidence, mountains, you're going after a DP, you're doing all these charges, why wouldn't you want to see that through?
Well, apparently, I have a couple of responses to that. One is, and this isn't the most important reason. One is there was an article in a bunch of the different newspapers that Bill Thompson has never actually successfully gotten a death penalty conviction ever.
No,
Ever.
it's been all that's one of the things when we went out there and I started looking into it the year after the crime. I went out there for the year anniversary. I started looking into the connections between the frats. And then I started looking at the past history of how they prosecute. And that's what they've done from the very beginning, is throw a bunch of charges at people and get plea deals.
That's what all prosecutors do. I was just working on a case this morning.
Yeah.
That's what all prosecutors do. I was working on a case this morning looking at a file that I'm working on where they had only in that case 2 charges, and they dropped the lesser one and just took a plea on accepted a plea on the second one. So all prosecutors do that. That's in the Prosecutor's Handbook 101. But the other thing I was going to say is Dylan and Bethany. I mean, Dylan was one of their strongest substantive witnesses, and she is toast. My viewers excoriate me for saying that.
Yeah.
And go down in Evil's in his.
No, it's true.
Excoriate, but she
dude,
was a damaged witness. And Bethany, we don't know. Bethany allegedly had exculpatory evidence, according to that affidavit by Richard Battanti. Well,
March 23. Yeah, March 23. Exactly. Well, that's what I like, all the way from when March 2023 came around and that affidavit from Battanti came out and I read it.
Yeah.
There was only one reason that it could be exculpatory, and why a defense attorney would bring that up in the first place. And you know what it was? Because you can't say it was Jimmy, because it's so dark. You can't say it was Jimmy. You don't have any kind of actual visual other than a bushy eyebrow. The only way that it could be exculpatory, according to Bethany, because it says that she has her own experience in regards to the other witnesses or the other surviving roommates. She has her own experience that nobody else can have. To me, that said, all the way back in March of 2023, that told me that she saw a female. That's the only way that you can have exculpatory evidence from a witness that has her own experience and it be exculpatory, because how are you supposed to prove in a Moscow dark night that and you just have a bushy eyebrow, that's all you have for a witness statement? What is supposed to be exculpatory? The only reason it could be is it's a different sex. I don't understand what other exculpatory reasons it could be. Is there anything that you can think of that might be exculpatory beyond that? Because ever since I read that in that affidavit, to me, that said she saw a woman leaving.
You don't want me to go into the whole...
What?
You don't want me to go into the whole D-house theory, do you? I mean...
D-house? What do you mean D-house? What?
D-R-U-G. We can't say it on YouTube. I don't want to cause you any more trouble than you've already had. I mean, there's certain words we can't say.
I got in trouble. I got in trouble for that in March of 2023 as well. When it comes
the place was a DRUG house. I know people get all mad at me for saying that, but that's what a party house means. That's what that means. When somebody asks you, hey, you want to go party? They don't mean, hey, you want to come over to my house and eat some Doritos and chips? No, that's not what they mean. So they had to clear the place out. There were people that were angry about the drugs being in there. And that's my theory. People blast me for having it, but that's my theory. I don't know what.
So what would be but what I'm saying, what would be Bethany's exculpatory evidence if it's not seeing another female? What
somebody else did it. Bryan Kohberger was not alone. Someone else was.
So you mean, so the exculpatory evidence would be multiple perpetrators?
Someone else.
But how can you prove it's somebody else if you just have a bushy eyebrow eyewitness statement?
Well, you can't. But that's where it gets
right.
Back. What did Bethany know?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So and that's why I go back and always go back to it being a female, because if you can't literally, all you have is a bushy eyebrow witness statement. You can't say in the dead of night that that's Jimmy or BK. You can't say, yeah, I know that's Jimmy for a fact, because all you got is a bushy eyebrow. So to me, the only reason that it could be exculpatory is that it's a different sex, because you can see a female in the dark of night and know that that's not a male and that's not Bryan Kohberger. Multiple people. How would that be exculpatory to Kohberger?
How do they even have bushy eyebrows? She admits, and I know people give me a hard time for saying this, but as a defense attorney, they don't even have bushy eyebrows because she was drinking heavily. She said she didn't even know if it was a dream.
That's why she wasn't reliable.
She said a lot. So she's a horrible witness. His witnesses are horrible. Plus, also,
for sure,
I have no idea what they were doing with Bicca Barlow and waiving some of the DNA, because any defense attorney that knew what they were doing would put a very good DNA expert on the stand to educate the judge and the jury, but the judge educate them about touch DNA. I know it's single source, but it's touch DNA on brass. It doesn't last. A good DNA expert could have blown that right out of.
That's why.
I don't know why they kind of sort of seem to have waived that, because people I talk to that don't really follow it anywhere near as deeply as you're so deep into this case. That's great. But a lot of people out there that you talk to just say to me, people that I know, people I have lunch with, people I meet in the gym, whatever, they say to me, oh, they found his DNA in there, he's guilty. But no, you and I both know that's not true. And I did an episode where I cited a couple of cases that had been, convictions had been overturned in part because of touch DNA. And the court cited some medical data that some DNA data, I should say, that pointed out the DNA is not reliable. Touch DNA is not reliable enough at this time to base a conviction upon it. And so if they had a really good expert, they could have dug into that. Because I'm telling you right now,
for sure.
I think that a conviction could have come because just people say, oh, there was DNA there. I mean, that's become the magic of the 21st century. Oh, DNA. Oh, they have DNA. Oh, that's it. No, that's not the end of the story.
I brought up a case a couple years ago. Mark Carver. Mark Carver, the Innocence Project had used the same DNA that was used to convict Mark Carver was the same DNA that was used to exonerate him through the Innocence Project. That's late 2023 when I came across that article, and that's when I was like, well, that's when I started to distrust the whole transfer touch DNA. What happened was, if nobody knows the case, and it's a very sad case because his friend, his cousin, was also right before trial was starting. His cousin friend died of a heart attack from all the pressure. It's a very sad story, but in a short form, what happened is there was a lady that was unalived. She was found in her car. Mark Carver and his friend were downstream fishing. The cop came up and asked them if they had heard anything, because there was a situation down the road asked them if they heard anything, if they heard any noises. No, we've just been here fishing the whole time, haven't heard a thing. The cop shook Mark Carver's hand. The cop went back to the crime scene. The cop then opened the back door of the victim's car, and that's how Mark Carver's touch transfer DNA ended up on the car, and they used that to convict and charge Mark Carver. He spent over 10 years in prison before he was exonerated. And that's why I said, ever since we came across the DNA dirty glove, where we saw the forensic team on a drone video spread and have contaminated personal protective equipment before they even went inside, and these were the same people that we also showed video, the same people that were inside taking photos of all of the crime scene, and you know damn well that they're also picking up items and transferring them into different things too. That's what they do. And so when they're going in there with contamination, and then that contamination of the personal protective equipment, the camera that they were using to take the pictures was contaminated. You saw the contamination. That's why I always said the DNA isn't going to be as important as this CAS data back then, because I already knew the DNA was going to be torn to shreds when it comes to experts. We already saw what Vargas had testified in earlier court hearings, what Bicca had talked about, all of these different professionals that discuss the whole transfer DNA, how already iffy it is. Then you add the contamination that's already been proven from video footage, and then you add the arguments of the experts, it would have been torn to shreds, the whole DNA discussion. And so that's why I think there was other parts of the case, like the CAS data, that would have became more important when it came to it. And that's why I think they took the plea and wanted the plea so bad, is because they knew, in my opinion, and I don't know, I'm interested to hear where you come from on this, because in my opinion, you don't take that kind of plea deal if you didn't do the crime, because, dude, you had such a better chance than a lot of these other people that were facing death penalties to convince one jury member that you were not guilty, because anything beyond the DNA was circumstantial evidence. It was suggested, in my opinion, and I think that's why they took it. Number one, do you think that's why they took or wanted the plea deal so quick, is because of all of this stuff that could have been argued and torn to shreds in court, which gives him an opportunity to walk away free? And do you think that somebody would take this kind of plea deal, no parole, the whole no appeal thing? I'm still a little confused about now after today's court hearing, because I thought no appeal meant no appeal, but no parole, no appeal, and you admit to these crimes. Do you see somebody admitting to the crime that didn't do this, especially when they had that big of a chance to convince one jury member that they weren't guilty based off of circumstantial?
I don't know. As an attorney, and I know all the other attorney YouTubers, and you know who they are. We're not going to mention any names, but they're all saying, well, you know, there are a lot of questions here, but I mean, now that he has taken a plea, and there's been this colloquy in which he said that he did it. He was making the plea freely and voluntarily and of his own will. And the judge asked him, are you pleading guilty because you are guilty? And is this knowing and voluntary and all the rest? The other YouTube attorneys are all saying, well, then that means he's guilty. Don't call me a pro-burger. I'm not a pro-burger. I'm pro-justice system. I'm pro, right, you know, the courts actually being judicious, reflective, delivering justice. But it just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth. And I don't know, okay, he's guilty, but I have a really bad taste in my mouth. I think 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 8 years from now, I don't know. This will be incredibly challenged. I mean, I did an analysis of the, it wasn't a confession, but it was a statement by Bryan Kohberger, where it was all typed up and it was all, I under statute 1, 2, 3, 4, I did 5, 6, 7, 8. That wasn't his confession. That wasn't his statement. It wouldn't stand up to scrutiny as to what the definition of a confession is. A confession not only says, yes, I'm guilty, but here are some facts. And that particular document is not going to stand the test of time if it's challenged. So I am not with all the other YouTubers who I respect and I admire, and I wish I could do 24/7 episodes like they do. I just don't have the time. I just happen to have a free day today. I have a hard time with it. I have a really hard time with it. I really don't have a easy time accepting this. Yeah. And you know yourself from following eloquently and articulately all of these cases over the years, there's always some wiggle room to get around and to do an appeal.
This is the way I look, because I put myself in whatever situation, right? You put yourself in other people's shoes. If I'm putting myself in the shoe, number one, Innocence Project, say that's what my goal is, right? Is Innocence Project.
Yeah.
If I get convicted for a DP, I'm already moved up ahead of a whole bunch of other people in the Innocence Project. Number one.
Yep.
Number two, it's going to take 27 years on average for Idaho to even go through the death penalty, right? So I have 27 freaking years to do this, okay? Yeah. Number one, if I get convicted of a DP, that bumps me way ahead of people on the list for the Innocence Project, because you can imagine how many people are trying to get taken on by the Innocence Project. Number two, I got 27 damn years to do it. So if I'm taking a plea deal because I want to avoid the death penalty, because I want to try and be found not guilty in the future, well, then that's an ass backwards way of approaching it to me. Because if that's my goal, if I'm worried that I'm going to get convicted of a death penalty, right?
Yeah.
Then it's ass backwards to accept a no parole, no appeal plea deal. And this is like today's court hearing threw me for a loop, because I'm confused about, wait a minute, I thought you couldn't appeal. I'm talking before this court hearing today.
I'm telling you, you've followed enough legal matters to know that there's always wiggle room in these things.
But dude,
always
you're playing checkers. You're not playing chess if that's what your goal is. I'm serious. I'm serious, because again, you got 27 years. If I'm sitting there, right? And my goal is to get on the Innocence Project because I feel that I'm going to be convicted. I know that I got 27 years. And if you look at how everything plays out, it's like 5-10 years when these things, the duration that goes on, and then people are released or freed, right? 5-10 years is like an average time period. 27 years, right? So I'm like, dude, okay, number one, why wouldn't I roll the dice? Because
exactly.
I think I could convince one jury member to vote not guilty. 100%. So I'm going to roll the dice. If my dice doesn't, which the percentages were enormous when it comes to your chance of winning compared to other DP cases. So if I rolled the dice and that didn't work, then I'm seeing the silver lining. Hey, guess what? I got convicted on a DP. It's going to take them 27 years. That gives me the bump up above a whole bunch of other people to fast track the process of me getting free. And at the same time, I know I got the time. So it's almost a benefit if you were to end up being found guilty. It's almost a benefit to have that DP on you because of how long it takes and how much of a bump up you get to compared to all these other people that are trying to get into the program for the Innocence Project. So I understand the wiggle room argument. I do. But at the same time, I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, if that's what the game that you were playing, you didn't play it right. Because now you took a deal where you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison, no parole, no appeal, and you didn't even get the DP on you. So you're way down here at the bottom of the list, when it comes to the Innocence Project. In fact, the way that I look at it as is like, dude, that's why I say you play checkers and not chess, because you just did a stupid move, in my opinion, if that's what your goal was. That's why I think that he's guilty, because I'm like, who would agree to this if you weren't?
I don't know if he was thinking it out as much as you are. I think he just felt like he was under a pressure. There must be some evidence that we don't know. I mean, I agree with you for the most part. I'm just saying that I have trouble with it. And I did a poll that we released. We released the preliminary results on an episode we dropped yesterday, and we're going to release the final results either Saturday or Sunday. And I was shocked. I was really shocked. Only like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9% of our viewers who responded thought he was either guilty or not guilty. The biggest number, like over 50%, thought not only was he not guilty, but also there are a lot of unanswered questions. And so,
well, there is, and that, I mean, that's why I said when the plea agreement announcement came out, I already started telling people then, like, you guys, Idaho 4 is going to become nothing but a speculation train, because no answers are ever going to be put out there, because this trial's not going to happen. That's one of the main reasons, as I've covered the case from day one.
But wait a minute. You might be right about that, but what about all these documents that they're going to unseal? I mean, there are 22 rounds of discovery, and they're still going, as you pointed out earlier. I believe it was you that pointed out they're still going with the discovery.
Yeah.
Even after the plea change back on July 2nd. So, I mean,
I don't see
anything.
anything
In all those documents. Who knows what is in all of those documents? I mean, we have no clue. There were
I'm calling it right now. There's going to be a whole bunch of nothing in them. I've been calling it since I heard about the when the plea agreement deal was announced. It taught me a lot of things, and then when I saw the court hearing of the plea agreement, I learned a lot more. And I've seen kind of how, like, from the beginning, how, there's a lot of stuff there's a lot of theories being discussed today that were discussed way in the beginning. Like, there's just a lot of rehashing old theories. And then with all this time, with these different theories that people have came up with, and you're just like, dude, are you like clickbaiting or what? You know, because there's common sense involved with this, and that was what the trial was supposed to do. It was supposed to have checks and balances when it came to the different things that were going to be discussed, because like somebody came out a long time ago and said that a leopard killed the students, and it's like, Jesus, like, come on, man.
Do you know what this is?
What?
I will bet you. I mean, we always agree amicably or disagree amicably. I will bet you 1 cup of coffee that you're absolutely wrong about this, that there's some, I hate the word bombshell, but there's some big stuff in all of that discovery, because until this year, 2025, we didn't know a lot of stuff. Now in 2025, little stuff has dribbed and drabbed out. We got the balaclava, we got the knife, the knife sheath and the sharpener. We got the 911 call, which was big. We got the girls texting back and forth. So all this stuff has come out in 2025, and I'll bet you
a cup of coffee.
1 cup of coffee that you're wrong, and that we'll get a lot of big stuff, and we might get it soon. So I'll bet you an expensive cup of coffee, not the Dunkin' Donuts stuff, but a
Starbucks.
Yeah.
A Starbucks gift card, Mr. Myers. How about that?
Okay.
All right. A Starbucks gift card, and we can email each other the number or whatever. However,
I will bet you that there has to be
I will take that bet.
We have to have a time frame on it. So within the next year, between now and July 18th of 2026, I'll bet you that there's some big stuff that's going to come out. Some big stuff.
That's a long time from now, but I will definitely take that bet, because I've been on the side where literally we from the first day, Mr. Myers, what have we had? No answers, right? from the press conference, from the first press conference.
Right.
Hell, before even the first press conference, 3 days later, we didn't have no answers. We didn't have no answers after the press conference. We didn't have no answers after the arrest. We didn't have no answers after these court hearings, except little dibbles and dabbles. I said there's going to be little things that come out that are going to be like, oh, okay. But anything that is going to be huge bombshell, like you're saying, I think I'm going to win that cup of coffee, Mr. Myers, because
I don't know. We have to judge because it has to be something big, and that's a subjective test. So we have to have a judge to determine. Maybe one of your moderators, although they'll side with you. They'll side with you.
I'm gonna put a reminder in my calendar, and I will make a community post the day before, and I'm gonna say, all right, whoever wins this cup of coffee. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
They've never you remember back when when was it? I think it was the end of 2024, October, November, when the prosecution was supposed to hand over everything. You remember that? Ann Taylor kept saying, I don't have this, I don't have this. The Bill Thompson, the court hearings judge, how can I ask if I can keep asking. How am I supposed to supply something we don't have yet? And then all of a sudden, John Judge gave the deadline. I think it was like November, October,
something like that. I don't remember.
Something like that, when the prosecution was supposed to hand over everything. And there were so many people saying, oh, I can't wait. There's going to be this huge doc drop, and there's going to be so much information. And I said, you guys, there ain't going to be nothing. There ain't going to be nothing.
But it was all
You know what happened? Nothing. I will take that cup of coffee.
No, it wasn't. You can't say it was nothing because it was all sealed. It was all sealed. I mean, now, okay, here's a question for you. In late June, Ann Taylor was still arguing that she was unprepared for the trial. She couldn't try the case because we have all this discovery. We have 68 terabytes. We have, and then 10 days, 2 weeks later, in this change of plea hearing, all of a sudden, one of the questions in the colloquy was, Attorney Taylor, have you gone through everything? Do you have enough discovery? Oh, yes, Your Honor. Oh, yes, we have it all. What was that all about? In 1 week, she went through the 68 terabytes.
Well, this is what I first thought when I first heard the plea agreement announcement, because literally just a couple days before, they were arguing the alternate perpetrator theory. 4 other individuals that could have possibly committed the crime.
Right.
So that's what shocked me when I first heard it, because when I first saw the news and I was like, hurried up, jumped on a live, and I think you joined it. I can't remember for sure, but when I heard that, I was like, what? Like, how do you go from arguing 4 alternate perpetrators to all of a sudden, guilty, I did it, let me take the plea? In the very first moments of thinking about all that, to me, it was like, maybe he realized that the other people that he was with weren't going to be introduced into, being a presentable theory, and it wouldn't be pursued further when it comes to, the process of the trial. And so when maybe to me at first, it was like, maybe he realized, dang, the other people that I was with, because at that moment, I'm like, maybe BK was just the getaway driver. And there was other people that went in and committed the crime, and he was just the Dumbo that was in the car waiting. Because usually the getaway driver is the guy in the lowest on the totem pole when it comes to committing crimes. So to me, it was like, well, maybe he realized that the other people that actually went in and committed the crime weren't going to have anything, they weren't even going to be introduced when it comes to this trial. And he was going to have to take the rap for everybody. And he was like, well, I'm not going to go to take a death penalty charge and take the rap for all these other people that should be in the trial. They just didn't get their DNA tested in the investigation. I don't know. It didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. And the other thing that makes no sense to me. Is not only, as we've both agreed, I think you should have rolled the dice and done the trial.
For sure.
Any trial attorney you ever talk to will tell you that a trial is a roll of the dice. No matter how well prepared you are, things happen that you didn't anticipate. Yeah, they tell us in the continuing legal education seminars, prepare, plan, make sure there's nothing. There's always something unanticipated. There's always some surprise. And I have won trials I thought I was going to lose. I hope my clients aren't listening. I have won trials I thought were losers, and I've come in second, I'll say, in trials I thought were a sure thing. You never know what a jury is going to do. And no trial attorney that's being honest will tell you that, it's a sure thing. So I would have rolled the dice. That's A. But B, if you're putting me in one of Idaho's facilities for the rest of my life, death is an option. I'm sorry. I said it. I'm a Christian, but I would rather than spend the rest of my life in one of Idaho's or anybody's facilities. I've only been in the ones in Massachusetts, and they're snake pits, and I wouldn't want to be in them.
And we've already heard the story of the prison that he's supposed to be going to, and the reports of the hazardous living conditions. I mean, it's one of the worst prisons in the United States.
So who would want to be in there for life? Who would want to be in there for life? Especially if he's only 30 years old, so he has a life expectancy of about 45, 50 years, right? So
that's why because trust me, from the very beginning, I've been arguing the innocence before guilt. And you can go to any one of my shows. It's one of the reasons I was hated on the first 6 months that I talked about it, was because one, I from the very beginning was about innocent until proven guilty. And when you're seeing what's taken place, it didn't line up with everything else. History repeats itself, and you can also learn from it and know what's odd and what's not. And then also the 8-hour delay in the calls is something I've had an issue with from the very beginning. And so we got a lot of hate from that. But when it comes to the guilty plea, that's why because my mind is like 1,000 tiles that are flipping, and it's all these different possibilities based off of the possibilities that were already chosen. It's like a tree branch or roots, where it starts from one thing and it branches out in so many different directions, because each possibility has 5 possibilities beyond that one, and then you think of all the other ones. And so as I was like trying to think, I literally was up all night that first night after the announcement, and I'm sitting there going, what person agrees to this? And I went through all of these different scenarios and options and all this other stuff, and I could never get to a good conclusion other than the person committed the crime. Because when you look at this, there's you want to talk about wiggle room. There's so many other ways to have a lot more wiggle room in different areas than the way that you took. And I just, as much as there was so many questions, and there always will be with the evidence, because it was contaminated from the beginning, because it wasn't a proper investigation. Most of the time, small police departments have that problem because they're not experienced. No fault of their own. They're not living in Chicago. They don't get the experience. But to me, it was just like, I don't really understand how, when you have all of these, especially one jury member that you could convince based off of a tip that would have got shredded in trial, I just don't see how somebody takes it.
Do you have your tinfoil hat out?
Yeah.
Tinfoil hat out. Okay. All right. I ran out of tinfoil, but so how about this possibility? Two possibilities that some of my viewers have. One is that, the FBI is going to put him in witness protection and we'll never hear of him ever again. That's one possibility. What about the other possibility that this confession was coerced out of him? They made things so difficult for him. And they made promises to him that, we'll make sure things are okay for you once you do this. and we're gonna coerce you. We're gonna push you against the wall, and we're gonna beat you psychologically, not physically anymore these days. And we're gonna push you to the brink of psychological breakdown and make you accept this plea. Aren't those possibilities?
They're always. This is what I'm having to say to my community that feel the same way. This has happened since caveman days, okay? Time goes by and you find out that some people aren't who you thought they were.
Right.
That's what it is. There's a lot of reasons like BK informant, witness protection. Guess what? Yeah. He would have never been, his name would have never been out in the public in the first place if he was an informant. Okay? He wouldn't have never even been put on trial if he was literally a informant. I'm sorry.
Well, like, maybe he rubbed him the wrong way like Whitey. It took the FBI. It took the FBI 18 years, but they did get Whitey. So, I mean, the FBI has a terrible history, and it's not a credible agency.
It does have a terrible history, but I just the diminishing, you know, like we've never seen him. He actually looks healthier than he did when he first got arrested.
Doesn't he?
Right? Yeah, he does. He looks a lot healthier. You don't see any kind of excuse me. Like with Richard Allen, that's a different. You see Richard Allen, the way he went in. The way that Richard Allen went into the way that he looked when he pleaded or not pleaded, but confessed or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that, you could tell that dude looked like he went through 2 tours of Vietnam or something, right? Yeah. But Kohberger, he looks healthier. I mean, you've seen the court hearing. He looks kept. He's got his haircut. To me, I don't see that there's any kind of coercion or forcing them or stuff like that. I think I mean I look at who takes this kind of plea deal with all of these other options that you had to have success, and now you took all those options away for success when it comes to somebody that's innocent of the crime. I see that, and then you know, these other theories, and I'm sorry. There's going to be people, and I know you've probably come across them, everybody in chat. We've come across it since we were little kids in grade school. You think that somebody is a good person, and then time shows you, wow, I was wrong. Yeah. Even family members, oh man, they're such a great person. And then you find out later on, wow, they're a piece of crap. Like you want to make excuses. You want to make excuses because you don't want to accept that they're a piece of crap. And that's just the way the world is sometimes people
no, you're right about that. I mean, Ted Bundy was a charmer. Even his sometime friend Ann Rule, the great, true crime author who knew him and worked with him on that crime line in Seattle, when people first started saying, oh, wait a minute, Bundy drives a yellow Volkswagen and the person that's committing these crimes drives a yellow Volkswagen. And then there were more and more and more and more pieces of evidence. She denied it. She said, no, he's a nice guy. He makes a nice impression. He's a law school student. And he's working with the uppity political people in Seattle. He had a split personality. BTK had a split personality. We could go on and on. But there's something I just can't put my finger on. Just the tone and the tenor of that whole hearing that occurred on July 2nd in Ada County, Idaho. There was just something about that just it didn't go down in a way that really had the ring of truth for me. I'll just say that there's just something screwy. Now, all defense attorneys are going to, support their client, but the way Ann Taylor would put her arm and her hand down on Bryan Kohberger's shoulders and say, I believe my client is innocent.
Yeah, I know.
I think that they really did believe that. Now, as a defense attorney, you have no obligation to think that. You're performing a constitutional duty to provide a fair trial and to diligently look at all the evidence and present the evidence that is exonerating your client. That's your duty. But it just seemed that they went beyond that. They really believed in his innocence.
Yeah.
So many other, I don't know if you want to call them rabbit holes or categories of evidence, but there was just something about the way, and I've attended tons of colloquies in court where judges are asking clients, is this your free act and deed, and is this what you want? And so it just didn't have. There's something, okay, to all the other attorneys out there that do YouTubes and say, "Wow, face the facts, Mr. Myers." Okay, but there's just something that didn't feel right about that. I can't put my finger on it.
Well, I think she was bamboozled like the rest of us. Think about it. You're right. And that's one of the things I said. What defense attorney is going to plead to the judge, "Judge, Your Honor, I don't even see the connection between my client and the crime." And we know, like, I'm saying, look, you don't even have to say that. You don't even have to believe that your client's innocent. But when your defense attorney, a public defender at that, stands up in front of the judge multiple times and tells him herself that she don't believe, or my team has worked extra, gone way beyond to try and find this link, and we don't even see it, Your Honor. And I think what you're discussing, I think she was bamboozled just like all of us, because to say that I wasn't shocked when I heard it, I'm sure she was just as shocked when she heard it. And when it comes to him in the courtroom, this is what first stood out to me, because I haven't seen this in another court case either, where literally a minute or two before the judge even goes to ask Kohberger a question, Kohberger adjusts his chair to get ready to get up to admit to the crimes. Like, he was so eager and ready. You don't need me yet? Oh, okay, hold on. And then he stands up a minute later when the judge asked him. To me, it looked like he was eager, focused, serious.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I don't know how closely you followed the Karen Reed trial up here in Boston. Did you follow that trial at all?
No.
I know a lot of people didn't, but it was an incredible trial. They tried her twice, and she was acquitted of all major charges. And her attorneys were incredible. Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, Robert Alisi, and I've got to mention Elizabeth Little. Incredible attorneys. And I'll tell you this right now, and you can quote me with this, that her attorney team would have wiped the floor with Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings. They would have wiped the floor with them, and they would have walked out with their tails between their legs. And I think it's unfortunate that, I know Ann Taylor, and I hate to say this, I know she's experienced and she's qualified for the death penalty, but before a trial, you get nervous. And I would hate to think that that's a part of it. I would hate to think that she was afraid that...
I don't think she was. I think she got bamboozled, man. I seriously think that she woke up because we had heard the talk started the Friday before. I really think that she because why else? Listen, for 2 years you're standing in front of a judge pleading that your client is innocent.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that, you're going beyond what is asked of you as a defense attorney. Okay. And all the requests for discovery, right? You obviously didn't go through all of it. You didn't have a chance to go through all of it. I really feel, and I asked this to Yoli, and I would love to ask this to you, because to me, this is what I felt took place. I felt like she got word that BK would, all right, I want to take a plea deal, just make sure the DP's off. And I really feel like when she got to have that meeting with him, she was like, are you sure you want to do this? And so I asked Yoli, I was like, Yoli, if there's a situation and it wasn't I kind of referred it as in what she practices, right? And I was like, if you had a person that you knew had a good chance of winning in court, and you know, that you were trying to go after him for 50 million and they wanted to settle for 5, you know, and your client was like, I know that your client is the ultimate decision. You have to do whatever they want you to do. But I was asking her, would you like try and advise your client to like continue the course or whatever? That's what I would have to ask you for
What was
yours.
Yoli's answer? I want a cheat sheet. What was Yoli's answer?
She no.
No. Yeah, I'm saying
No. And so
try
and
the
so
case. Try
like
it.
yeah, like so in your situation, you know, the criminal defense, if you're walking in and you see, you know, everything that's similar with the case, you're like, holy, you know, you see what's not there, you see the stuff that can be shred with experts and testimonies in trial, and your client says, look, I'm gonna, when you are standing up saying, Judge, I don't see the connection, and you believe that that person is innocent because you don't see the evidence, and your client wants to take a plea deal, no appeal, no parole, would you really like, would you try and advise your client like,
no, try the case? I mean, Ann Taylor, you know, again, I have all due respect for someone like that because, you know, I do a little bit of defense. It's not the mainstay of my practice as it is hers, and she's certified to do death penalty cases. So she's many, 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 many notches above me in terms of being a competent, credible, experienced defense attorney. At the same time, it just seems like at some of those hearings, she really seemed to back down and her voice wavered when she was talking to the judge. And even Jay Logston, remember that one of the arguments that, you know, the judge kind of hit back and he said, well, Your Honor, it's an argument that has to be made. Give me a break. And I'm telling you right now, you should watch a couple of the witnesses in the Karen Reed case, because Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, Elizabeth Little, and Robert Alessi, who's incredible at digging under the things that experts say. Experts say things, and he says, wait a minute. Let's make some sense out of that. And he points out that they don't make – that team was incredible. Just go back and watch what Alan Jackson did to a Boston police officer who had worked in Canton, a woman by the name of Kelly, don't call me Devers. And look at the way Alan Jackson skillfully just cut her to pieces. She's now on leave. She's now on leave of absence ever since she got examined by Alan Jackson, who, in my view, that team puts Johnny Cochran down 5 or 6 notches and they go up to the top.
Wow.
I just don't. You got to watch it. It's just incredible. They were charging her with second-degree M and 2 other charges, and it was all wrong, and the investigation was bungled. They had her found not guilty on all 3 major charges. They only found, after 2.5, 3 years of litigation, they had her found guilty on OUI, which, you know,
right.
They spent $1 million. So, I mean, I think, I hate to say it, but I just think that there were some pretrial jitters about trying the death penalty case.
Well,
and
I mean, well, it's not the first one she had worked on. She had worked on others in the past.
This is a big one. This is huge. You got to admit, this is a huge.
I think what it was is not only because the other case that she worked on, they weren't high profile like this. And so, yeah, that comes with the territory. But I think at the same time, there was a lot of times where I sat back watching these court hearings going, why is the judge being such an ass to her? Yeah. And so I thought, I kind of came across in those moments where I would see those, and I kind of came across as her, not maybe necessarily jitters, but frustration, because normally I would be able to argue this and it's not being heard in this courtroom. And I think
that's where Jackson and Yannetti stood above that, because they struck right back at this judge. And I'm a member of the bar in the same state, and so I have to be extremely careful about what I say. And so I am very careful about what I say. But this judge was not friendly to the defense. We'll just put it that way. And these guys just struck right back. They struck right back at her, and they held up photographs and said, "Look at this, Your Honor."
Well, look what you just said, that they were 6 notches above Cochran.
I did say that,
Right?
and I mean it.
Okay. And is Ann Taylor? I mean, we're talking Boston to Moscow.
Doesn't matter. They should have the highest skills. They should have the highest degree of skill if they're going to set foot in a courtroom and defend somebody that they want to put in front of a firing squad. I don't care what you say about that statement, Bill Thompson. You were trying to put him in front of a firing squad. Yes, you were.
But was Karen Reed being defended by public attorneys? No. Okay. No. And that's where the difference is. Yes, Ann Taylor should have that knowledge. Should have that knowledge, but I feel that if it was a paid attorney that had a lot of that backing, I like you said, if they would have been able to represent Kohberger, it would have been a completely different,
But no, I respectfully disagree with you because she is certified. Just because it's Idaho doesn't mean that we can't bring ourselves up to the level that is expected of us. And, it's been 3 years now, hasn't it? 22, 23, 24, 25. It's been 3 years now. And you have time and you have a staff and you have other attorneys. And so I kind of bristle at that suggestion because I think that if you are certified to be a capital DP attorney, you got to have those skills, and you have 3 years to brush them up. And so I think the comparison has to be made.
I see what you're saying. Trust me, I really do. And I'm not trying to discount or discredit any of it. I guess the easiest way for me, because she should have all that, because you shouldn't be practicing or defending that if you're not, have the knowledge to do so. But I guess the simpler way to put it is the officers were certified to do certain things in Moscow and to be able to handle certain crimes, just like Boston. But Boston has more experience when it comes to I think it really just comes down to experience, really.
Well, in the interest of full disclosure, the attorneys Alan Jackson and his partner Elizabeth Little are from Los Angeles. David Unetti is from Boston, and Robert Alessi is from New York. But you can't just go by the fact that it's Boston, because Ann Taylor was paid handily. All those attorneys were paid handily out of the coffers of the state of Idaho. So it's not that they weren't being paid. It's not
they were being paid
handily. I forget.
Oh yeah,
it was. But
it's like $1 million. I think.
They could bill for everything they wanted. They could bill for, tons of stuff. And so I don't think that's a good excuse. I think that if you're a certified, qualified DP attorney, you are at the top of your game, and you've got to be the best. So,
especially for that high profile case.
Yeah.
You would think, but you had your pool of a selection of public defenders from Latah County,
right?
And that's who you got to roll with. So
if your argument is that okay, in Idaho it's not the big leagues, it's not the Yankees and the Red Sox, it's the Pawtucket team and the Worcester team. Okay, then if it's the grade B defense, it's also the grade B prosecution. You have got to admit that some of the stuff
they were though. That's what I'm saying. It was a grade B prosecution.
It was the grade B team.
It was grade B versus grade B.
I'll never forget the day that they were in one of those hearings, and Ashley Hush Jennings looked across the aisle when Ann Taylor was talking and said, "Shh, hush. I'll never forget that day. And people told me it didn't happen. I played the tape back, 20 times, and they said, oh, it still didn't happen. I made it up. I didn't make it up. I've never seen that in all these years. I've been practicing law longer than I want to admit. For 3 decades, I've never seen an attorney in open court shush somebody up. It doesn't happen. So yeah, it was the grade B team. I'm sorry, but I mean,
it was. You had when did you ever see a prosecution school of defense on how to practice defense live in court? You're just
totally ridiculous.
The baby fits were enormous. They were the baby fits from the beginning. Even when there was a court hearing in the very beginning where Bill Thompson was even seated in the visitor section, and the Judge John Judge had mentioned something, and he stood up from the visitor section, waving his notebook, having a baby fit. The baby fits were just ridiculous. But yeah, that's what it is. That's a perfect way to put it. It's like Squad B, and I've never said. That's why you see the way that the case was presented from the prosecution was Squad B effort, just like everything else, just like the forensic team that showed up to investigate the crime scene, just like the officers. You got Lanier, one of the most decorated Moscow officers, the first one to show up, and before he's even out of his car, he said he knew that they wouldn't be able to handle it, and instantly called Idaho State Police. And dude, what decorated officer that's been in there for that long walks into a crime scene where there's 4 people that had a crime, didn't even walk into it yet, just pulled up and saw that they wouldn't be able to handle it? I think, it's like that right there. There's a pattern of do the minimal work and get a lot of the accolades that come along with just getting along, going along, being part of the buddy system. And it takes place all around up there. And I think that's a lot of it. And that's where a lot of people that their pant size are too big up there. Really, their pant sizes are too big up there when it comes to any of it. And I really feel like when it comes to how the court cases are handled, and I think what happened was, and that's why I say it wasn't necessarily, for me, it wasn't jitters, it was more of frustration, because I really think that if the stuff that she would have argued would have been heard a lot more, and maybe she was used to practicing that law a certain way up there, got the accolades for practicing it and the achievements that she was accomplishing. But then when she went to Boise's a completely different part of the state. It's progressive. Up in Moscow, it's regressive. It's progressive down there. There's different, with the judge and how he acted, how he was very stern and wasn't
the
here.
Tenor of the judge was the tenor
right.
of Judge Hippler was totally opposite from Judge.
Yeah,
kind of sit back. Oh, he had a Cheshire cat grin on his face half the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's oh yeah, because I always made fun he stopped at Floyd's Gummies before he would have those court hearings, because a lot of times he's just like he's chilling back at the beach going like this,
I didn't think gummies were legal in Idaho. I think you would have had to cross the
state
state
right across the dude. It's like a minute and a half drive across the border. It ain't very long.
Here, I'm in as I speak to you, I'm in my New Hampshire office. My other office is a 15-minute drive from here, but it's in Massachusetts. And as soon as you cross the state line, it's illegal in New Hampshire, but it's legal in Massachusetts. As soon as you cross the line, there's all these stores that sell this and that and gummies and vapes. And, so all the New Hampshire people go down there. 15-minute drive, and then they drive back.
Hey, honey, I'm going to go to Walmart real quick before I go to court. And then he just crosses the border real quick. And
then he retired. And then he retired right away in January. He put his retirement papers in. I think he wanted out of the case. I really think he wanted out of the case. It was He was at one time. I looked at all states are different in terms of the jurisdictions of the court, but his court handled everything. Assault and batteries, drunk driving, and it's a college town. So I lived in a college town once, and so on a Friday, Saturday night, the cops were just bringing in drunks, right and left, and so that's what he was used to. This was huge. This was not the type of thing that he'd ever had on his docket, and so it was just, I think he wanted out really badly, and I think he seemed like a nice man. He seems like the kind of guy, I wouldn't mind having lunch with, maybe having a beer with him, whatever. I don't
right. He'd probably crack a couple jokes. You'd have a good time.
A guy, I used to be in Rotary. I'm not anymore, but it's a nice group because it's, people of all different professions. But the whole thing is leave any animosity you have outside, and you have a 4-way test, and you're just friendly. He seems like that kind of a guy that you could just sit down, have breakfast with the guy, talk about, anything in the world. He seems like that kind of a guy, a nice guy. So I'm not saying anything bad about him, but it's just.
It was too big for him. I literally, this is what whenever Judge John Judge was over the case, I literally, anytime that there was something that came up where something would be argued, I could see this judge sitting up late next to the fireplace every damn night having anxiety, going, I don't even know where to start. Like, what papers do I start with? And I think it that's why I think it took so long for him to even make a decision about peanut butter and jelly, was because
I'm reading what your viewers are saying, and Jeremy Pearson says no judge would want to take on this mess of a case. And he might be right. Jeremy, you might be right. But think about Judge Kranick in Suitcase Sarah's trial. I don't know if you followed that one. Did you follow that one at all? Sarah Boone?
Oh, Sarah Boone. Sarah Suitcase.
Did you follow that? Judge Kranick was the consummate professional. He put up with a lot of what in that case from Sarah. She went through 9 attorneys.
Oh yeah. That was
during the final trial when they finally got whatever attorney they got, I forget his name, a nice guy, but during the trial at every step, Judge Kranick turned to Sarah. Sarah, do you understand what your attorney is asking? Do you understand what your attorney is doing? Did your attorney ask this witness all the questions that you, just marking the record so that there could never be a successful appeal in that case?
Right.
Never. But he was just there were times when I'm watching Sarah and I'm not going to say I wanted to slap her because your commenters will just tell me I'm a terrible person. But you know what I mean. You just said, Sarah, no. But the judge was so patient. He was such a great, excellent. He's what we want a judge to be.
Well, yeah.
He didn't cut her any real breaks. He didn't cut the prosecution any real breaks. He was even-handed. I remember one motion was kind of sprung on him, and he said, we're going to take a 20-minute break while I go back to chambers and I research this topic. Then I'll come back. I don't know if you remember that. Then he did. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, he's back in the courtroom and he says, all right, here's how I read this case. Here's how I read the facts. Here's my ruling. And that's how you want a judge to be. And I don't know. I hate to say this. I mean, they're two different states, but I bet somebody like Judge Kranick would probably, somebody like him. And I've been before some excellent judges, by the way. Judge Kranick, I think, probably would have enjoyed the case.
Well, yeah, it's like the Dylan Brooks, if you remember. Same kind of situation where he was representing himself, and that judge, you have to, because it's either you got two roads. You got one where you can get pissed off and be combative, and the next thing you know, because the one thing the judges hate is whatever they decide to get overturned from another judge.
Right.
So you either get combative and go down a path where emotions take over, and whenever you involve emotion, you make mistakes, or you look at it as, okay, we can, I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to not let it bother me, because I know in the end that I'm going to make sure that there is no room for an appeal, because I think really that's what they're trying to do, is they know that they're guilty. They're trying to create chaos so they can eventually get an appeal based on, well, I didn't get offered or wasn't explained this,
And that's one thing that Judge Hippler was good at. I forget whether there were 21 or 23 different motions to suppress. I forget. I came in one day and oh my God, I got to do a podcast this afternoon, and there were 23 or 21 motions. I'm like, oh my God. And so he listened, and then he wrote, instead of writing 23 responses, he wrote one 44-page response, which was incredibly well researched. It was Now, I'm sure he has law clerks, but I'll give him credit. It was extremely well researched and well written and well thought out, and it followed the typical legal IRAC formula. What's the issue? Here's the rule of law. Here's the answer. Here's the conclusion. I mean, so that part of it was brilliant. So those things could, even if Mr. Kohberger did have a right of appeal, which he might, that kind of stuff is not going to be overruled, because on paper he was a great judge. His temperament, a lot of us had an issue with it.
I mean, it's kind of like it, because I deal with it in the real world. Like any of the, I was in management for 25 years of my life. I was in management, and that's one of the things that I dealt with. Was I was the kind of person that would tell you how it was. I wasn't gonna bullshit you. I wasn't gonna tell you something just because you wanted to hear it. I was gonna tell you the way it was, because to me, that you cut it out, you achieve what you're trying to achieve quicker. You don't waste time. I'm not gonna waste 10 minutes soft coating something when I can just be like, look, this is bam in 30 seconds. Let's not waste time. And so that, there was a lot of people, even in the upper management that I was in, like the board meetings and stuff, where people, they didn't like my style. They didn't like, even though I wasn't rude and I wasn't mean, I wasn't about the BS. Like, let's just get to it. And I kind of look at them that way. Like, I know it comes off, and I would come off abrasive to some people. I would come off abrasive. But to the people that understood, and the people that saw or had already seen the results that come from that kind of approach, they understood. And they knew that, oh, no, once you got to know me, you would understand, no, this wasn't being abrasive. This was just like dudes calling out a hot dog steak before everybody else can smell it. And I kind of see that with him, where yes, it even I said it was abrasive, and it looked abrasive. And one of the reasons why I think that it wasn't necessarily jitters, it was just she didn't know. It was frustration. I don't know how else to argue this, because he's not listening to me. And I think if people really, like, after time, and they go back and they'll see, the judge was, to me, there's a lot of people saying, oh, I wish BK would have had Judge back. He did so much better. And I'm sitting there going, if you really break it down, Judge Hippler was amazing at keeping everything a well-oiled machine. Everything was successful. Even when there was bumps, huge bumps that came up, like Dateline and different things, it was still a successful, well-oiled machine, no matter what. And so when it comes to, the abrasiveness, I think after some time, we might see that maybe it wasn't necessarily abrasiveness. It just came off that way because it's like, look, I'm not wasting my time with it. We already have other things that are coming up, or have, or will. I don't want any of this to affect it. It's about the end goal. It's about having a successful trial and everything going down the way that it should. And I think that that's what we'll see, after time.
Hey, CJ, I've got some files burning a hole in my desk here this afternoon, and I've got to get some papers filed actually this afternoon. And here on the East Coast, it's 2:30. So the afternoon is moving along. So I really enjoyed my conversation with you. I'd like to have you on my channel sometime soon.
Anytime. I love our conversations. I
Me
think,
too.
even though we come from different key points or whatever, I just got to ask you real quick before
Yeah.
you go. And thank you again for your time and hopping
Yeah.
up here.
Anytime.
What the hell with this appeal, man? Because like I said, up until this court hearing today, I thought no appeal, no parole. What are you, because the judge said you understand the ramifications of what you're agreeing to in that last hearing. One of the agreements was no appeal. How in the hell does an appeal?
Don't you hate when somebody says, you're going to have to tune into my channel this weekend to find the answer? Because I'll be honest with you. I will be honest with you. I'd never heard of the case that he cited, Garza versus Idaho, in which the United States Supreme Court held that just because you have waived your right to appeal does not mean that your right to appeal goes away. So unsealing of the documents in this case, the way he applied it to this case, unsealing of the documents will wait at least until the appeal period passes. So again, I'm being honest with you. I'm not familiar with that case, but I'm going to read it. I'm going to brief it. I'm going to talk about it in my episode that I'll drop this weekend, because
The weekend?
it said, yeah, this weekend. It said he said Garza versus Idaho stands for the precept that just because you have waived your right to appeal doesn't mean you've waived your right to appeal. So
I don't just be like, I don't know. I don't.
I imagine
don't understand it.
just from what I do know and from being in court and doing some of this stuff over the years, I can only imagine what the case says. I don't know, but I can only imagine that the court up above will test to make sure that the judge did in fact assure himself, for the record, that the confession was made openly, willingly, voluntarily, without any duress. That he was not under the influence of any substance, legal or otherwise, that would have influenced his reason.
Yeah.
So that's my guess as to what this case stands for, just as kind of a safeguard against those cases you and I were talking about, an hour ago, where people have been wrongfully convicted. So that's my guess. I don't know. Nothing in the law, or hardly anything in the law, is absolutely certain. I'm sure you have viewers that'll say something to you and say, case closed, or blah, 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 period, end of sentence. Or the one I hate when I'm watching people on TV, these experts come on TV and they'll say, full stop. Well, I used to work in the media, and I remember those old AP printer machines, the UPI and AP news tickers, and they would have they'd print out a sentence, they'd full stop. So these guys don't even know what they're talking about. I remember those big old wire machines. But in the law, that might be okay in the newsroom where we have a deadline of 6 o'clock, full stop, run into the studio. In the law, nothing's final, as you know, as you should know. Nothing is ever final.
Why even say, Andrew, if Pepsi is not Pepsi, then why promote it as Pepsi? You know what I mean?
It's a whole different can of worms. We're not going there. I'm just saying that there's always wiggle room. People always say at this time, or based on the information that I have at hand, or based on the file here on my desk. Okay, I'm going to leave you with one thought. Because they do have to go. Pam Bondi and Trump. I'm totally non-political. I'm totally independent. I hate them all. Release the freaking files.
We got to have an Epstein show. I've been saving a lot of stuff for a lot of different topics now that this
release the files.
Trial's not happening. Yeah, it is kind of weird with all that stuff. We should do a show on that sometime too.
All right. Have a good afternoon. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Adios.
Thank you so much. And if no appeal doesn't mean no appeal, well then maybe I should sell my car as a Benz because and promote it as a Benz, and then that'll leave me wiggle room to say, oh well, I mean, I was yeah, it's a Benz. Whatever. It don't make no sense to me. It don't make any sense to me. Shout out to Andrew. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out and hopping up and help trying to explain this court hearing. that took place. Because that was one of the biggest questions I didn't understand is how in the hell can there be an appeal if there was no appeal? And then we went through all the reasons that somebody would have to prove in order to retract the plea. And all of those reasons that you would have needed to retract the plea agreement would be the reasons that the judge had asked in the court hearing when he pleaded guilty. So when he asked him those questions and he answered those questions, then I don't you see what I'm saying? Like, yes, there's ways that you can, but at the same time, the judge had already said, you're making this under these, this is what's going to happen. This, you're not making the decision off of this. You're not making the decision off of this. You're making it off of this. I don't know. It seems really odd to me, and it doesn't make sense. It's not going to make sense. Another thing is this gag order. If we're going to lift the gag order, but we're not going to be going through anything until after the gag order. It's already going to be lifted already. So basically, we're just going to allow, like Andrew said, it's going to be tonight. There's probably going to be nothing but interviews with people that are going to be, lawyers, family members, where people are going to be able to discuss it. Now, unfortunately, I don't know if we're going to be able to. If you want to hear that explanation, that's in the beginning of the show of the whole copyright strike and get copyright struck from a local news channel up there that covers Idaho 4. And I was just covering a interview with one of the victim's family members, and I got a copyright strike from a local news station. And so I don't know if we're ever going to become any kind of interviews or any of that from local news stations anymore going forward, because if it can happen from one, it can happen from any. And really, the main goal is to be around to be able to help bring awareness, truth, and justice to these cases and to the victims, the families, and communities that we try and bring awareness for. And so if you want to hear more about it, you want to see it, you could just go to the beginning of the episode, and I kind of go through it, just kind of explaining where I'm coming from, the kind of format where I should take the show at this point, considering what took place. And I don't know, leave it in the comment section as well if you guys would be interested in panel shows, live calls, just discussion shows, stuff like that. But also I'm still going to be doing reporting, boots on the ground, and all of that. I'm going to play this video from Court TV real quick. This is them discussing the gag order and what took place in the hearing today. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Again, thank you, Andrew, for hanging out. And we should do that more often. We always have really awesome conversations between us. Again, go sub to him if you're not already. Here's this latest video from Court TV discussing the gag.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. We are going to get you back inside of that Washington State courtroom soon, but we have some breaking news out of Idaho where Bryan Kohberger is now in court today ahead of his sentencing that we are expecting to happen next week.
Kohberger, who pled guilty earlier this month to murdering 4 University of Idaho students back in 2022, is back in court today where the judge is hearing arguments over lifting the gag order that is in place in this case. Let's listen in just for a moment.
the counsel or others who were previously bound by it to speak. And the state has indicated that they don't intend to until after the sentencing. And certainly I would hope that the media interests would respect those positions and give people the space that they need and request. In terms of, for example, the defendant's family and others coming and going at the sentencing, we intend to have, as we did before, appropriate security measures in place to ensure that they, as well as the victims, are allowed to get in and out unscathed by the media, if that's what they wish to do, or if they wish to speak to the media, they can do that as well. At this point, I just don't think that I can justify the continuation of the non-dissemination order. I think the rights of the public to information in this case is paramount, given the fact that a plea has been entered in this case, and so I'm going to lift the non-dissemination order. But I want to point out what that means and what it doesn't mean.
Ain't that crazy when you're looking at that? When the judge announces that he's lifting the non-dissemination order, there is no emotional change in Kohberger's face. I'll rewind that again. You can see it. He's looking the same, and there's no change emotionally in his face or his movements or anything after the judge mentions that, which is shocking to me. I would think that there would be some kind of emotional change. There's no emotion at all.
The rights of the public to information in this case is paramount, given the fact that a plea has been entered in this case, and so I'm going to lift the non-dissemination order. But I want to point out what that means and what it doesn't mean. So obviously nobody's required to speak to the media, first of all. Second of all, I want to be clear that the court's prior preservation order to the parties is not lifted and continues to stay in place. And so it's important to understand that those obligations still exist. And then the other thing I want to point out is that by lifting the non-dissemination order, that does not convert sealed documents to unsealed documents. Documents previously sealed by the court are still sealed. Now, I see the media also filed a petition to be heard to unseal everything. I'm denying that outright, the request to intervene, because I think it's premature at this point. So the court will its intent is to, after sentencing, begin the process of reviewing all the sealed material in this case to determine what should be unsealed and what should not be unsealed. That process will include an opportunity for counsel to register any objections to unsealing documents, specific documents, and request to redact certain sealed documents before they are unsealed, or unseal them in a redacted form. I intend to do that in groupings of documents at a time. As I sit here now, my thought is I'm going to start from newest to oldest because those are the ones that I have the most working knowledge of as to the reason for the sealing of the documents, as well as the content of those documents. And so I think I can get through those more quickly. As we move backward in time, it's going to take further more extensive review by the court to figure out, to obviously review the content of those documents, listen to those hearings, et cetera, and determine why they were sealed and whether that rationale still is necessary, or that rationale still requires the documents to maintain that sealed status. And so before everybody gets out their pen and paper and sends in public records requests, understand those will be denied for sealed records until they are unsealed. And that process is going to take time. And I'm not talking days. I'm probably not talking weeks.
Okay, there you have it. The non-dissemination order being lifted will be lifted, meaning that the people that were required not to say a word can now speak if they are willing. Judge Hippler mentioning that the state does not intend to say a word until after next week's sentencing.
But the sealing of certain records, 168 orders for sealing had happened in this case, which is excessive compared to a lot of other cases, but that is going to remain in place until the judge looks into that more.
Jack Rice with us. Let's start with the plea deal. The prosecutor, Thompson, entered into this. Some of the families are all in, others are adamantly against this plea deal, which spares Kohberger's life. He doesn't get any appeals. What's your overall thought on that process when you put your prosecutor hat on? What goes into that, and what do you think of it?
Well, a big part of it is certainty. What you get is a saving of the next 20 years of appeals. And what you get is you never know. There were some interesting aspects in terms of some of the rulings in this case, some of the evidence that potentially could have been introduced. What happened with the DNA that was found from his father in Pennsylvania, how that was actually extracted and used and then tested, I think, down in Texas, and whether or not that could actually come in, or if it did, was it appropriate? All of those issues could have gone up on appeal. And to avoid that and to get the certainty of it is one of the things that I think this community wanted collectively. But of course, there are going to be some people who are absolutely outraged by it. And you do have to listen to the victims and the victims' families. At the same time, they can't be beholden and be shackled by what they always want. And in this case, it was split. Some wanted it, some didn't. This was a very hard decision from a prosecutorial standpoint.
Oh, yeah. And when we're seeing him, Jack, there in those prison clothes, that is how we are going to see him going forward. He is not going to be able to be in civilian clothes, a shirt and tie. He's going to be in his jail garb, even at that sentencing that's happening next week. Ted, you'll be there.
Yes, it will. And it'll be his last court appearance, theoretically, as long as he is not accused of other crimes next week when he appears in court for the final sentencing. We'll get a break. Thanks to Jack Rice. Back after this.
Yeah, and so basically it's going to allow people to talk about it, but really for anything to come out of these documents, and we got that cup of coffee, but Mr. Myers, I don't think there's anything that's going to be coming out in them. It's going to be quite a while. It's going to be quite a while.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae, along with Ted Rollins. We are continuing our coverage.
And thank you all for being here. Appreciate you very much.
Out of Idaho, where a motions hearing is underway in the case against Bryan Kohberger.
He, of course, pled guilty to killing 4 University of Idaho students. He's back in court today as the judge is hearing arguments over whether or not to lift a gag order, which he is doing in part in this criminal case due to the notoriety of the murders. Almost all the information related to the case has been locked behind that gag order, and specifically the inability for anybody to discuss the case. If you are associated with the case at all, the judge early on said nobody is talking until this thing is over. Well, now we're getting to the end, and in anticipation of next week's final hearing in this case, and that is the actual sentencing, the judge is lifting the dissemination portion of the gag order, which would allow potentially people coming into the courthouse to answer a question or two if they wanted to.
Yeah, and it makes sense because there's no jury now to potentially prejudice in any way. There's no jury pool to taint. So now it's just up to the judge to approve this sentence.
And up to the people if they wanted to speak or not, which the prosecutor's office, apparently, according to the judge, and it sounds like law enforcement, they've already alerted the court that they do not plan to do any speaking until the conclusion of next week's hearing, which makes sense.
And let's get you back inside the courtroom, picking it up where we left off with the judge speaking to these parties.
Would be essentially inappropriate to unseal, including protection of individuals from undue harassment, et cetera. And so that's just going to take time. In addition, I'm unlikely to unseal much until after sentencing and after the appeals period has run. Now, I recognize the plea agreement includes a waiver of the right to appeal, but as the parties probably know, the U.S. Supreme Court in Garza versus Idaho has indicated the fact that a defendant waives the right to appeal doesn't mean they don't have the right to appeal. And so it may affect the outcome of that appeal, and it may affect the underlying case and the plea agreement. But nonetheless, the right to appeal does not go away because of the waiver. And so I think it's important for that time period to also play itself out to see that it goes the way that I think people intend and expect it to. And so I will be entering an
right, because that doesn't make sense. It doesn't. I don't. We're gonna have to look up that case too, Garza versus Idaho. No appeal, but there's an appeal. I don't know. It's confusing to me. I don't know. We'll look. I mean, the conversations that can be had from that alone. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why promote it as Pepsi if it's not freaking Pepsi? But like, I don't understand that. I don't get it. Don't touch that hot pan, but you can still what? Do as I say, not as I do? That's kind of like what it is. Like, you know, do as I say, don't do as I do. Well, what do you mean? Are we supposed to do it this way like we're supposed to, or we're not? It makes absolutely no sense. Right, Caddy? What does this even mean? I don't get it. And like, even after asking the question, I'm still confused. Like, what? I'm so confused.
Order in the next week or so outlining the process for the review of the sealed records. And counsel will need to maintain a presence in the case in order to review those materials as they are proposed to be unsealed by the court. You know, because the timeline that I will likely give you will not be, I suspect, extensive as for each group of records. So I might give you 14 days, for example, to provide a response as to a group of, you know, a dozen or a couple dozen records at a time. So just sort of heads up and fair play with respect to that. Any questions by the parties about the ruling today?
Not from the state, Your Honor. Thank you.
No questions from the defense. Thank you.
So Olson, do you have any questions?
I do, Your Honor. I wasn't certain if I was included within the parties. I would just say I think that the court's proposed manner of moving forward on the sealed records will likely largely address our interests, and we appreciate the court setting that out in this hearing today.
Yeah. If certain records after review maintain their sealed status, it would be at that point that I would entertain requests for me to consider that more formally and to have a voice in that. But I think until I've gone through that process, it's premature, which is why I don't intend to take up your motion, your more recent filed motion at this time. So,
thank you, Your Honor. We appreciate.
I don't know. It's crazy. I don't know. I'm confused. I want to say thank you all for hanging out today. Thank you again for Andrew for hopping up. Great discussion. And yeah, we're gonna have to talk about this on the next show. I'm gonna have to look into this case. I don't understand. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words. I'm at a loss. Oh, hold on one second. Thank you, Caddy. Let's check this out. Excuse me. Oh no, my whole screen went black. Ah! Hold on, hold on. I'll be right back. I gotta back out again. Dang it. Okay, hopefully this will work. Right, give me 1 second. Share this real quick. Okay, so this is Wikipedia, Garza versus Idaho in 2015. Petitioner Gilberto Garza Jr. signed 2 plea agreements which required him to waive his right to appeal. After sentencing, Garza informed his trial counsel of his wish to appeal. Due to the appeal waivers signed by Garza, counsel declined to file a notice of appeal. This was just like 7 years ago. 20 years ago when this happened. After the time period to file an appeal lapsed, Garza filed a petition for state post-conviction relief on the basis of ineffective assistance of counsel. Okay, but that's the thing. He said that his counsel was effective. The trial court denied relief, and the Idaho Court of Appeals affirmed. The Idaho Supreme Court affirmed, concluding that the presumptions of prejudice, as recognized in Roe v. Flores-Ortega, does not apply when the defendant has agreed to waive the right to appeal. I mean, okay, so let's see. It says right here, after the time period to file an appeal lapsed, Garza filed a petition for state post-conviction relief on the basis of ineffective assistance of counsel. BK stood in that plea deal hearing, stood up, and the judge asked him if his counsel was effective. Thought that they did a thorough job. Like, I don't understand. I'm so confused. Because this is the stuff that he said that didn't happen in that movie. So I don't know. I'm so confused. I don't see how that's. I don't see how that. I don't know. I'm not seeing how that has. I don't know. I'm not understanding the connection. I don't know. I just. He already answered those things. I don't know. I'm so confused today. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and put together a zoomed in version just to BK from the court hearing. And then you guys can see, like, his face was not changing no matter what was being said. It was really. I'll get that zoomed in version. It'll probably be like a half hour from now. Check that out. See what you think and leave comments on that as well. I probably won't be doing a show tonight, but tomorrow night I should be able to and maybe even tomorrow morning. I think I got a break tomorrow where I can do a show, at least in the evening for sure. But I might even be able to do one in the morning tomorrow. We'll see how much work I get done today. So if I can get some of that stuff knocked out, then we should have some free time tomorrow to probably have 2 shows. If not, we'll have one tomorrow night discussing all of this stuff and all of the other stuff that I never got to discuss before the show started. So thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate it. Love you all. Have a peaceful, positive day. And please stay safe out there. And we're going to, I need to get unconfused because I'm really freaking confused with this whole appeal. I don't know. It's just really weird. Love you guys. Please be safe. Stay hydrated out there. It's too damn hot, man. Love you.
Okay over there? Is your victim at the hospital? Someone shot there. Alright, do you need us to take pictures of the, is it domestic related? She's calling back. We're going to try to give her a call again, and then she just added another phone number to the 13-year-old grandson, who's possibly with the daughter. That was it. 2412. Veteran Craig Conway combat today with female veteran medication. She's the worst thing. Attacking 12 second check coming out. I'm sorry, we're not copying your lunch location. Try that one more time, puppy. 847 Fulton. 847 Fulton, okay. 4235, just coming over to domestic battery at 1815 North Winchester, 1815 North Winchester. Danny speeding the caller and the owner of the vehicle. Alright, thank you. 111, 113, Robert 11. 32. You guys are okay over there?
412.
Veterans crisis hotline prominent, so they have a female veterans up for medication. She's going to St. David. Detective 12, take the check that one out.
Rumble, 617 successful.
Office still stands. Stop. No. Very nasty. Mission forward. Thanks. Anyone else close might just rest up. Let me know. 10-5, be clear. 33.
3-3. Can you let our supervisor know that I have a case report?